Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Carl Jung. Do you ever stop to wonder why certain types of people just instantly piss you off? Maybe it's a kid in class who never stops being cringe, or people who sing all the time, or a friend who constantly hogs the spotlight. According to the philosophy of Carl Jung, there might be something deep within you that's just like that annoying person. It's the part of us that we refuse to see, our shadow. But embracing this part of us might bring forth answers to questions about ourselves we've always had. In this episode, we'll dive into Carl Jung's groundbreaking ideas about the human mind, exploring the hidden world of the unconscious. You'll learn how to confront your shadow, because if you do not, you will slowly become the very thing you despise. Imagine what it takes to be the kind of person willing to spend an entire lifetime digging into the depths of the human mind. Does such a person become more human, or do they trade their humanity in the process of finding meaning? All the great thinkers throughout history likely encountered this dilemma as they dug deeper into the human psyche. A man who wasn't spared from that fate is Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst. Jung is pretty well known as a pioneer in his fields, particularly because he did a lot more than study the mind. He mapped it out like an explorer charting unknown territories. His work laid the foundation for some of the biggest ideas in technology today, from personality types to concepts like the inner child. At least that's how textbooks describe him. However, he wasn't some sage who found understanding after a week of meditation. To understand why he was able to provide reliable insights for many people, it's best to take a peek into the life that led him down a road that he paved with his own hands, and perhaps extra hands some of you may be familiar with. To help guide us through this journey, I've brought along my friend Noah, who will take it over from here.
Jung was born in 1875 in Keswill, Switzerland. The son of a pastor, Jung respected his father, but found that his rigid religious beliefs were too confining to follow into adulthood. This was the first clash between spiritualism and skepticism, planting seeds that would allow him to genuinely explore his eventual fascination with the unconscious mind. Jung spent a lot of time alone as a kid, often daydreaming and reflecting on his own thoughts. He later described this period as his first ever encounter with the unconscious, a theme that would go on to dominate his life's work. Originally pursuing medicine, Jung had no inclination towards clinical psychology, but an interest in mental illness led him to psychiatry. How this sprung up is fascinating. At some point in his mid-30s, Carl Jung experienced what he described as a horrible confrontation with the unconscious, one where he saw visions and heard voices. It got to the point where he even began to worry that he was menaced by a psychosis or doing a schizophrenia. It makes you wonder, if his knowledge of mental illness wasn't advanced, would he have had the chance to emerge from this confrontation, or would he have succumbed as another nameless victim of his time? Thankfully, we got the former. Due to these events, in 1900, Jung decided to transition into working at the Burghölzli Psychiatric Hospital in Zurich. It was here that he began studying patients with schizophrenia. This location was also his first encounter with Sigmund Freud's work. Soon after looking into Freud's ideas, he made contact with him, and the two began exchanging letters. Quickly, the pair gained a friendly and intellectually stimulating relationship. They would often engage in strong debates on Freud's work, and over time, Jung rose through the ranks of psychoanalysis and became Freud's protege. He evolved into the man that Freud believed was fit to carry on his legacy. But Jung didn't stop at Freud's theories. He expanded on them, sometimes in radical ways. While Freud was fixated on repressed sexual desires and the influence of childhood on individuals, Jung believed that the human mind was more than a fleshy storage unit for past traumas. He envisioned the psyche as a self-regulating system that strives to maintain balance and develop itself. He also believed that it consists of 3 layers. The ego. This is the conscious mind, or the part of us that interacts with our world. It's your sense of self. It's the voice that you hear when you're thinking, like, for example, right now. You are aware that you're watching this video, and that voice in your head is telling you this. The personal unconscious. This is sort of like a personal storage unit for forgotten memories and suppressed emotions. It's highly unique to each person. And finally, the collective unconscious. Now, this is where Jung really broke new ground in psychology. This concept is one that is centered on a new approach, one where the personal unconscious is the product of a deep, universal layer of unconscious that all humans share. This collective unconscious is filled with the archetypes that can be found among people. In other words, primal symbols and motifs that appear in myths, dreams, and stories across cultures that have never made contact with each other. For example, you'll find some variation of dragons as a myth in cultures located vast oceans away from each other. That's an archetype. However, for Jung, these archetypes help to better define human behavior. Among the many archetypes that Carl Jung defined, there were 4 that he identified as the most influential on human behavior. The persona, the mask that we wear in public. It's the version of ourselves that we present to the world, one that's shaped by societal expectations. The shadow, the part of ourselves that we deny, reject, or hide. It's the thing that is behind our repressed desires and impulses, like the culmination of everything that we would never admit that we are. Anima or animus. The inner feminine side within men is the anima, while the masculine side within women is the animus. To Jung, integrating either aspects as they apply to genders could lead to a better psychological balance. The self. This is the ultimate goal of Jungian psychology. The self is what represents a union between the conscious and unconscious mind, creating wholeness and individuation. But before we look further into that, let's take a peek at some of the interesting archetypes proposed by Jung. While those 4 are the most well-known, there are others worth learning about as you dig deeper into Jungian philosophy. An archetype that might quickly grab your attention is the puer aeternus, or eternal child. This archetype reflects a person that resists growing up, much like the fictional character Peter Pan. In fact, some psychologists actually refer to it as Peter Pan syndrome. You most likely know a Peter Pan in your life, the person who peaked in high school and can't seem to let the past go. They avoid responsibility and are stuck in a rebellious teen phase. While these people can inspire wonder and creativity, if left unchecked, they can become stuck in a loop of escapism, often lost in a fantasy version of who they are, unable to put in the work that it takes to make their ideas a reality. If you can relate to this, recognizing the traits of this archetype can be the first step towards personal growth. Another intriguing but less popular archetype is the senex, or wise old man, one that serves as a symbol of wisdom and guidance. You'll often find these figures in dreams or stories as mentors, like, for example, Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original Star Wars trilogy. This archetype can help individuals find direction during periods of tough time or uncertainty. Despite finding a tight-knit friendship, the nature of their works mixed with individual brilliance meant that there would be disagreements between Jung and Freud. But it wasn't just because of professional disagreements that they grew apart. It was tied to how Freud believed that sexual desires were the primal driver for human behavior. But Jung thought that this was far too narrow, maintaining that the idea could go further than that. Jung argued that myths, spirituality, and a person's search for meaning played just as important a role in shaping the human psyche. These ideological differences became a rift that never fully healed. With some hard lines drawn, it was clear that Jung's departure from Freud's circle was much bigger than a personal matter. It was more like a split between the field of psychology itself. Freud's legacy would eventually evolve into psychoanalysis. Meanwhile, Jung carved out a completely new path called analytical psychology. This approach was quite broad, emphasizing the importance of personal growth, symbol interpretation, and the internal journey towards self-discovery. Understanding who Jung was and how he developed his theories is helpful when looking deeper into the concepts we'll explore later in this video, from shadow work to individuation. The Swiss psychologist's ideas offer a roadmap for anyone seeking to understand themselves better. But his theories weren't flawless ideas accepted by all psychologists. Toward the end of this episode, we'll take a look at the resistance that Jung faced, especially from Freudian circles. For now, though, let's take a leap of faith into the shadow, where the hidden parts of ourselves await in hope and misery. You're at a party when you meet a loud, attention-seeking person who wants to start a dance circle. You've always disliked when people try to make themselves the main character out in public. You're not quite sure when it started. In some ways, you feel like you've always been this way. You roll your eyes thinking, I could never be like that. But what if that reaction wasn't a simple bit of annoyance? What if it was a reflection of something hidden and buried deep inside you? This discomfort you may start to feel is a doorway into one of Carl Jung's most compelling ideas, the shadow, one of the 4 core archetypes. Jung described the shadow as a part of our psyche where we stuff away traits, emotions, and desires that we find incompatible with who we think we are. It's kind of a psychological junk drawer that holds parts of ourselves that we'd rather not acknowledge. You know, that stuff that you never want to see yourself as, jealous, greedy, or spiteful. But out of sight doesn't always mean out of mind. The shadow has ways of sneaking into our lives, such as showing up in projections. Like the moment that you see that person at a party and for a brief moment you see your repressed qualities in other people. A mother scolds her daughter for being outspoken, confident, and friendly with people. On the surface, it might look like this mom is just a mean and harsh person. But the shadow tells a different story. The mother could have been much like her daughter early on in life, but that changed when she faced rejection for being too much. Growing up in a small town where tall poppy syndrome was a thing, a term used to describe bringing down successful individuals who stand out. She lost a job for outshining her boss, and her friends abandoned her for being a pick-me because she was outspoken. With such experience in her youth, the mother buried those parts of herself, learning to value quiet humility instead. Now, seeing her daughter embody that same boldness stirs uncomfortable emotions, and instead of confronting the shadow, she lashes out. Unbeknownst to her, it's not her daughter's behavior she despises, but the echoes of her younger self, a person she worked so hard to repress. The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents. Carl Jung. This is how the shadow dances in our lives, slipping through generations and relationships. It's a strong reminder that our judgments often reflect inner wounds, not objective truths. Once we recognize these dynamics in our relationships, empathy can quickly replace frustration. The mother's scolding is more than a harsh reaction. It's an invitation to heal. By acknowledging the hidden parts of ourselves, we soften our edges and inch closer to self-acceptance. But what do we do once we encounter the shadow? To Jung, confronting this part of ourselves could unlock growth and more self-awareness. This process is known as shadow work. Shadow work isn't a fancy term to lucid dream your way into defeating your inner demons, as cool as that sounds. Instead, it's a bit like befriending the monster under your bed. By facing the parts of us that have only known darkness for so long, we reduce their hold on us and reclaim the energy we once spent suppressing them. In practice, it looks like this: journaling about moments where you had strong emotional reactions, asking yourself, what part of me is this situation reflecting? Or working with a therapist trained in Jungian analysis. Yes, you can engage with professionally trained therapists on this topic. Modern psychology has embraced shadow work as a tool for healing, and you'll often find therapists who guide patients in exploring unresolved childhood experiences or repeated patterns in relationships, helping trace these patterns back to unacknowledged parts of their psyche. Even outside of a therapist's office, people tend to use shadow work as a form of personal growth, exploring guided meditations, self-reflection exercises, and even dream analysis, all to engage with their inner self. At its core, the concept of shadow reminds us that growth isn't about becoming a new person. Contrary to the popular advice about reinventing yourself, shadow work encourages us to move closer to wholeness by embracing the light and dark sides within us. Do you ever walk into a crowded room filled with conversation and laughter, yet you feel like a ghost? You're present but unseen. It's like everyone else is plugged into something greater and you're not. Instead, you stand apart, disconnected. This peculiar loneliness, this sensation where you're surrounded but unknown, is one that points to something much deeper than mere isolation. To Carl Jung, it reveals a fragmented self, longing for integration. The antidote to this? Individuation. Now, individuation sounds like a fancy word to justify self-isolation. If you listen closely, though, it might just help you discover ways for you to be your most authentic self among others. In many ways, individuation is a lifelong process of becoming your true self. It's the process that people go through as they achieve a distinct and stable personality. It's not really about self-improvement, at least not in the conventional sense. With individuation, you're not adopting new habits or polishing aspects of yourself that you consider weak. Instead, it centers on uncovering and integrating the most disparate parts of yourself. You know, the thing in you that sees something and makes you automatically think, I'd never do that in a million years. The ego, the shadow, the anima/animus, and the self are all integral to this delicate dance within. Once these elements are aligned, we are able to step a little closer to wholeness. However, if they are rejected or ignored, we drift further away from our essence. This amplifies feelings of alienation, and the worst part about that is constantly trying to fill the hole with things that will never truly fix you. Individuation isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, but with it, you stand a chance to handle your inner turmoil with strengths you haven't truly realized are there. Loneliness is often a signal that this inner work is being neglected. Because of that, we attempt to fill this void externally by seeking attention, admiration, and validation. We start to hold on to the hope that if others notice us, maybe the ache inside will subside. Social media doesn't help with this tendency either, encouraging main character energy, where one's life is curated for an audience. We slowly become performers in our own stories, desperate for validation and applause. Yet, Jung argues that this pursuit is hollow. How is this possible? For one, individuation teaches that fulfillment doesn't come from being seen, but from seeing ourselves and others with clarity. Mix that with a healthy dose of compassion, and things start to make a lot more sense. Let's use this example. You scroll through your Instagram feed, occasionally pausing when you're looking at a perfectly curated life of an acquaintance. As you stare intensely at their photos, you feel a twinge of envy arising. Rather than dismissing this bitter emotion in embarrassment, consider this moment as an invitation to experience individuation. What could be the unmet desire or repressed quality that this envy highlights? Do you envy their holiday photos because you're secretly longing for adventure? Do you talk down about them returning to their ex for the third time because you're secretly scared nobody loves you enough to want to keep trying? Do you have secondhand embarrassment for their weird TikTok videos because you've had to keep up an appearance of being put together? All it comes down to is the parts of yourself that have gone unnoticed. Individuation asks you to sit with these feelings in totality, no judgment, just you looking in the mirror and unraveling the messages held within your discomfort. This process of turning inward is what helps cultivate a richer connection to the self. In a paradoxical way, it also lessens loneliness. As we engage in deep self-reflection, we grow and become better equipped to engage with the world authentically. Slowly, the need for external validation fades, and it's replaced by a cool, quiet confidence, one that is entirely rooted in self-awareness. A practical approach to individuation and, by extension, combating loneliness involves shifting our focus outward. Now, sure, this may seem counterintuitive, but by noticing others constantly striving to be noticed, we dissolve the barriers that isolate us. So the next time you're outside, instead of thinking about how depressing it is that you don't have many friends, try something new, living outside of your own head. Consider striking up a genuine conversation with someone who often fades into the background, the types of people that you'd think of as NPCs, a delivery guy or a shop owner. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit of human connection. Pay attention to the unnoticed details of their story. By building a habit out of a simple act, you can experience some transformative changes in your own life. As you learn to see others deeply, we mirror that same sort of attention inwards, fostering the same recognition within ourselves. It all starts to make sense once you draw it out in your own head. If there are parts of you that aren't ever seen as relevant within your own self, you're likely using a similar level of harshness in how you judge other people to some extent. Jung believed that solitude was an essential ingredient in individuation, but it's not the loneliness that happens when you're disconnected from the world around you. Instead, it's the solitude that exists when you're in tune with the unconscious mind. Through constant practices like meditation, journaling, and creative expression, we're able to engage with the hidden parts of our psyche, allowing the unconscious mind to finally speak. These solitary moments are what weave together the fractured aspects of the self, drawing us ever closer to psychological wholeness. To begin this journey, here are some practical steps worth looking into. Engaging in creative outlets. Creativity is often overlooked in the journey towards self-improvement, but being familiar with who you are and how your mind prefers to express itself is crucial. Art, music, and writing are the source of things that bypass our ego's defenses, allowing hidden aspects of ourselves to surface. Forget about producing a masterpiece. Instead, create for the sake of exploration. It's the journey or process itself where the true value lies. Therapeutic exploration. Jungian analysis or other depth-oriented therapies are strong sources for a sense of structure towards individuation. A trained therapist can guide you in steps like engaging with the shadow, uncovering projections you've held towards other people, and integrating unconscious material. Practicing mindfulness. When you're able to carve out moments of stillness every day, it'll go a long way in getting you comfortable with being yourself. It also allows you to reflect on emotional triggers, recurring conflicts, or intense reactions. Asking yourself, what part of me is being activated here, is a helpful way to unlock some profound insights. Building authentic connections. Individuation thrives in a relationship. This goes beyond the romantic side of things and into communities or friendships where vulnerability is encouraged. By sharing your inner world with others, you can accelerate individuation, revealing hidden strengths and blind spots within. Journaling emotions and dreams. Dreams are seen as the language of the unconscious. They offer clues about neglected parts of our psyche. When you keep a journal by your bed and quickly write down your dreams upon waking, you'll gain some cool insights. Over time, symbols and patterns start to emerge, pointing to areas of yourself in need of integration. Instead of viewing life as some sort of performance, you start to fully inhabit it. The loneliness fades not because the external world shifts, but because you're able to deepen a relationship with yourself. You start to recognize that the connections you seek outwardly are, at their core, a reflection of the connections that you've cultivated within. Jung's perspective on individuation isn't some far-fetched ideal meant for philosophers or mystics. It's for the everyday person, a practical path laid bare for anyone willing to engage with their inner landscape. While the journey is sure to be solitary at times, it leads us back to the collective, making us more connected, whole, and a lot more at peace with who we really are. Although Carl Jung has proven himself to be a helpful voice in the field of psychology today, his influence hasn't been met without a healthy amount of skepticism. Concepts like the shadow, archetypes, and the collective unconscious have helped to shape psychotherapy, pop culture, and literature. Yet critics have had one specific issue with the philosophy, and the issue in question is the metaphysical nature of Jung's theories. To put it simply, there are a lot of people who feel that Jung's work can't really be tested with science or put in practical terms. If we truly want to fully appreciate this iconic philosopher's work, it's essential to explore his strongest criticisms and the debates they've ignited within psychology as a whole. It's well established that Jung was seen as Freud's protege and potential successor. Both agreed on a lot, especially in their interests in the unconscious mind. As we noted earlier, their philosophical paths eventually diverged, and this led them to some significant theoretical clashes. Freud, who is known for his psychoanalytical framework, emphasized the importance of sexual drives and repressed desires as the primary forces that shape human behavior. Creating a model of the psyche, he believed that our behavior revolved around the id, ego, and superego, painting an image of humanity that's largely driven by our early childhood experiences. For Jung, he proposed a broader, more spiritual view of the unconscious. Instead of focusing solely on the personal feelings of repression, he introduced the collective unconscious as an idea, using it as a collection of shared archetypes and symbols that our species inherited from our ancients. Critics believe that Jung's departure from Freud's beliefs pushed him in a direction that was much more imaginative than his old friend. However, it also lacked the empirical foundations that were emphasized and maintained by Freud. By choosing to focus on symbols, myths, and dreams, Jungian psychology felt too out there, and some considered it to be in speculative territory. Now, the biggest part of Jungian philosophy that raises eyebrows is his mysticism. This is a person who was never one to shy away from astrology, alchemy, or religious symbolism. Jung was ready to explore the human psyche in ways that had never been done before. This further cemented his reputation as a thinker who constantly straddled the line between metaphysics and psychology. Some interesting things about Jung include his belief in synchronicity, the idea that coincidences always have a meaningful connection. He also used tarot cards and an I Ching, an ancient Chinese text that functions similarly to tarots. These resources helped Jung better understand the psyche, but he also drew sharp criticism from numerous contemporary psychologists who preferred to be more grounded in empirical research. Some argue that Jung's embrace of mysticism tends to detract from his work's credibility. Modern psychology is something that prioritizes constant results that are repeatable with tests and data-driven methods. Meanwhile, with Jungian analysis, there's a lot of emphasis on subjective experience, which means that it struggles to meet the criteria set out by modern standards. There are critics like Richard Knoll, an award-winning author known for the Jung cult, The Origins of a Charismatic Movement, who believe that Jung's approach is a quasi-spiritual movement rather than a scientific discipline, even going further to claim that Jung's approach is similar to that of a religious leader, not a psychologist. This mystical quality, which is often the subject of criticism for Jung, is also what makes him so appealing. The innate willingness to engage with the unknown and explore the mind is something that resonates with certain types of people. You know, the sort of people who seek meaning beyond the confines of materialism. For many, Jungian psychology is what offers a bridge between science and spirituality. It addresses questions of purpose, transformation, and identity, the things that psychological models tend to overlook. Another common critic of Carl Jung's work lies in the complexity it brings, yet there aren't many practical ways to apply them. When you take a look at concepts like the anima and animus, individuation, and the shadow, there's this abstract way that they are described. This makes it difficult for the average person to implement in their daily life or fully grasp. Unlike something along the lines of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a form of treatment that uses clear, structured techniques when addressing mental health issues. In Jungian analysis, things tend to feel slow-moving or for a niche audience. With individuation, there's a strong belief that it's an essential element for psychological growth, yet it lacks any clear or actionable steps. Critics argue that without any concrete methods, Jungian therapy is really just a type of introspective exercise that yields basically no tangible progress. In clinical settings, this ambiguity can get frustrating for patients seeking immediate relief from their psychological distress. In the 21st century, you'll notice that Jungian psychology has evolved quite a lot. Some practitioners have attempted to ground some of Carl's ideas into contemporary research. Neuroscience is a field that has started to show interest in the role of the unconscious. particularly in the ideas like the unconscious mind and its role in influencing patterns of behavior. This heavily echoes Jung's notion of archetypes. Yet, we also have some modern psychologists like Jordan Peterson who draws heavily from Jungian ideas in his writings and lectures. He also has faced a lot of criticism for oversimplifying or misrepresenting Jung's more nuanced theories. Peterson's take on concepts like the shadow has introduced Jung to wider audiences, but it has also sparked a debate on whether or not these simplifications dilute the richness of Jung's original work. One thing Jungian psychologists can't seem to shake away from is this portrayal of the anima and animus. Arguments are often made about the description of these inner figures as they tend to reinforce gender stereotypes. On one side, femininity is seen as emotional and passive, while masculinity is represented as strength and logic. While Jungian analysts point towards the fluid and constantly evolving nature of these archetypes, critics argue that such frameworks actually risk promoting outdated notions of gender roles. Despite the strong criticisms, Jung's work continues to prove valuable. His theories invite exploration into the inner world in ways that extend beyond diagnosing symptoms. Instead of feeling like a checklist, Jungian psychology encourages a holistic approach to mental health. Although some of his ideas can't withstand scientific scrutiny, they still offer tools for self-discovery and artistic inspiration. On a deeper level, criticisms of Jung mirror the dualities that he sought to explore in his work, especially relating to science versus spirituality. Jung's greatest contribution doesn't lie in providing definitive answers to questions, but rather promoting us to ask much deeper questions about the nature of the human mind and the mysteries shaping our existence. Carl Jung's ideas didn't fade out with the 20th century. No, they've woven themselves into the very fabric of today's art, pop culture, and psychology. His exploration of archetypes and the collective unconscious play a major role in the ways stories are told and how we understand ourselves. In cinema, we can easily see this impact on some of the most iconic works of our time. Directors like Christopher Nolan, George Lucas, and David Lynch have openly drawn from Jungian philosophy to craft complex and symbolic narratives. The hero's journey storytelling structure, popularized by mythologist Joseph Campbell, himself a devout student of Jung, is the basis of countless blockbusters ranging from Star Wars to The Matrix. These stories resonate so deeply with audiences because they mirror the archetypes and patterns described by Jung in his work. This philosophy is so relatable, it helps pop culture by reflecting humanity's shared psychological experiences. Outside of film, Jung's ideas are solidified in music, literature, and even video games. The concept of a battle between light and dark, a search for self-actualization, and an integration of the shadow are recurring themes found in countless creative works. Artists usually channel the unconscious to make their best work, transforming personal and collective symbols into expressions that are understood universally. Now that we live in an era of identity exploration and increased mental health awareness, taking a look at Jung's emphasis on individuation feels more relevant than ever. His work offers something beyond simple insights. Instead, it's a map for those seeking meaning in an increasingly fragmented world.
Are you crying? Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in foosball.
You fucking cried after 3 days in the fucking holding tank. Looked like a fucking pile of wet rags at court. You should see how I showed up to court after 3 days in the box with the light on.
Please, is there anything I can do, sir? Please.
Does he look like a bitch? What?
Don't do this to my wife, man. You don't know what you're doing to my family, man.
Does he look like a bitch?
Sir, please don't make me sleep in jail tonight, sir. Please. I'm begging you. We're not criminals. They're gonna make me sleep in jail.
Continue. You were saying something about best intentions?
Josh has never been arrested for recording. Okay, so that's him getting arrested, and then his friend here makes a phone call that I want to touch on.
So not only should we all have enough self-care to just cut these people off and not deal with them, and especially if we're going to interact or observe out of fascination or entertainment, stop submitting, stop denying reality, stop allowing the beings to project onto you and abuse you and deceive you and just act like it's all okay and it's cute and cuddly. It's not. It's completely sick and twisted. It's dysfunctional. It's not virtuous. It's unjust. But it's just another day in the metaverse, just another day in the universe. And there's no shortage of folks here who do not want to be empowered, do not want to be inspired, do not want to be entertaining either, just want to go along to get along, have a false peace, don't want to have to embrace the chaos of the universe that leads to a revelation of order and understanding. One needs the other needs one in order to have the experience. Okay? So again, fine line between accepting people are going to be people and do what they do and not try to change them or control them versus denying reality and letting yourself be subject to a completely twisted, dysfunctional dynamic that was most likely started in your household that you don't want to bear witness to. Because newsflash, the majority of us on here on these panels had narcissistic parents. That's why we find a home, non-home together. That's why most of us can't live with each other or without each other. Right? The difference between me and most folks on here is I became aware of all these dynamics a while back. And then I've attempted to practice with them, interact with them a different way, communicate them, resolve them either externally or internally. Usually one goes before the other, as within, so without, as above, so below, as they say. You know, or just practice different ways of experiencing what's going on here. So again, I'm not picking on folks. I'm not downing on them. These folks who are attracted to narcissistic personalities love to play the victim, because that's the other side of the narcissist, the victimhood complex slave. So as soon as I talk about the truth and reality a lot of us experience here and why we become the way we become, you know, they'll immediately create distance between themselves and me and try to cope, you know, to feel better once again, deny the reality they experience. But it's evident to any being who has a background in self-knowledge, psychology, sociology, anthropology, historicity, right, and like familial experiences. It's clear-cut examples of so many different static dynamics that are taking, you know, that are playing out here consistently. Understand it, change it, get a handle on it. I don't know. It's a crazy idea, right? No, we'll just keep jacking off all day, every day on panels. We'll just keep playing into our complete dysfunction that's rooted in Freudian psychology, was created at our, if not at our birth, through our formative years in our households. And we'll just play all that fucking trauma bonding out over and over again on these metawebs for your masters to just laugh and giggle at. I know I get a hoot at it. I'm fascinated by it. They must be over the moon about it. What are we doing here today? What is this? You guys are completely fucked up. Again, it's more of observe and report from a place of astounding fascination about how humans do what they do and make the decisions they make regularly. And again, I concede that either I'm always on the outs because I'm not in the in and in the know, and I'm not conscious and aware, but think I am. That's a dynamic we've seen many times. Or I am conscious and aware, and I'm constantly, for the majority, surrounded by folks who can't find their ass with two hands and wouldn't know how to be honest and real with themselves and others if their life depended on it, because it does, and they aren't. Fiery Gorilla Gems, and a very angry man. I'm sticking to my new plan and approach that's been prescribed by my doctor, Dr. Pfizer, Pfizer rather, not Dr. Pfizer. That's not my doctor. Dr. Pfizer, following his prescriptions. No more anger. Holy boy. Checking my passions. I can still care. I can still be the most loving, technically, man on YouTube, since Mr. Slackcott hasn't been showing up the last couple of days. Doesn't tell his audience either where he's at, where he's going. Faithfully, he didn't drop over dead. But hey, what a surprise. We'll pray. We'll pray for Mr. Slackcott. But as of right now, it's been 2 days straight. Mr. Slackcott's not on YouTube, so I am officially the most loving man on YouTube. And I know that that's going to upset a lot of people. And I'm a slave to you. You work through that. Best of luck with that. There you go. Hey, brother, you in Harlem? No. No. As least as possible. When I was on New York, as least as possible. I love black people. I resonate a little bit too much with the Negro culture. I'm just saying what they said last night. I don't have any thoughts about it. People are people. But they said Paul enslaved is a nigger, is what they said in my chat last night. That's the quote. So I apparently am a nigger, which means I love niggers because I love what I am. And with that said, certain parts of Harlem, Brooklyn, other places, it's not for everybody. And I was already running in and out of places that I didn't really belong to some degree, I'm sure, because I wasn't from there. I didn't live there. I was stealing and drugs there and whatever else. Yeah, I never really had a problem, but it's just one of those things where if you're being realistic with yourself, certain places, more appropriate, maybe other places, not so much, because you never know what can happen, right? We got to stay safe. That's the credo. That's the motto of the American day male, or excuse me, the modern day American male. Gotta stay safe, keep it safe. Harlem, not one of the safest places necessarily, but it's exciting. It's never a dull moment. It's never boring. If you're that N, Paul, be careful crossing over Pelican Crossing. I don't know what that means. Got the face of a catcher's mitt. Thank you, sir. Thank you for noticing. Good to have you here. Rob T, everybody. Round of applause for Rob T. He needs it. Guys like this need it. They need a little bit of attention. They need a little bit of care. They got something going on. Blessings to you, Rob T. Get well soon. Okay. Joe Biden got his 33rd degree and joined all black Masonic fraternity. Well, I don't know what that means, but I'll just nod my head and we'll continue. Anybody see Antoine? I watched Slow State last night. God help me. For about 5 minutes. Slow State was in the stack live. It's been about, 3-4 weeks since I checked in on him. And he happened to, after about 5 minutes got insanely bored and didn't see any point in even watching unless I was on. And that's an experience I have a lot. I go, why am I watching this when I'm not on there? If I was on there, it'd be so much better. And then I was like, it's kind of late and it wasn't that late. It was about 9 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock. Oh yeah. Jennifer, that's what it was. Jennifer was on the way over and I didn't want to get into a thing. I was like, just pretty much done broadcasting an hour or two before. And I was just over the whole thing. But I checked in and he happened to be playing Anton Daniels. And he was acting like a complete pussy coward clown. And I'm not necessarily putting it that way. I'm just saying that's what was happening. Like, that's not part of my anger. I'm not even being passionate about it. I'm just saying that's what was happening. Some might say. He was like, oh, thank God. He has a white slave master daddy. Donnie's in. He's going to save everyone. It's got to happen. We did it. Our team's winning. There's nothing more embarrassing and pathetic. There's 2 spaces on this list. The list of nothing more embarrassing and pathetic than top 10 answers on the board. One of them's got to be, in no particular order, people who say my team is winning when they're like watching grown men chase a ball around a field, like football, baseball, basketball, shit like this. Most pathetic, embarrassing thing ever to watch some bozo loser failure go, my team's winning. Even more pathetic when they vote for a white daddy, Mr. Drummond style. And I'm wearing my cape today. I don't know if you've noticed. I'm caped up. I'm like Queen Stephen over there. I have my hero's journey cape on. We're a little frisky today. But yeah, You know, it's just and nothing. And let's just can we cut to the core here at the risk of doing colorism and black people? Is M Davis here? Rob Cleveland. Do we have some black folks in the audience? I need a official because they say I'm black. They call me a nigger. The white people, which is why I guess I started to resonate more with black people growing up. I started to live with them and be around them, and we found a home together because all the white people kept saying, "You look like a nigger," and I go, "This isn't nice." You know, I'm half Irish, half Italian. Apparently, there's no such thing as white pride or anything like that. And I wasn't really looking for it, but it wasn't really a thing. They just kept saying, "Hey, nigger lover boy," and you look like a nigger and stuff like that. So then, I don't know. I just go, okay, I guess maybe it's like a. Isn't there a duckling story like that? The ugly duckling where the duck is black and then the white ones keep calling it black, or the black ones keep calling it white. So it goes with the. I don't know. There's a story like that though, I think. Where was I? What was I saying? Oh man, I might have did it again. Right. You're not going to make me forget this. I got you. I got a handle on you, mental illness and ADHD and whatever else they tried to put on me. Anton Daniels acting like a clown. So you got to file an index card in your brain. When you go off on these trails, you got to make sure the index card is filed and just keep it brief. Anton Daniels acting like a clown, right? Pulls it right back up. Over there, sucking Trump's nuts, saying it's all going to change. And there's nothing more pathetic, not only than saying our team won, but when a black guy does it. When a black guy gets on here, like on YouTube, which is supposed to be the new and improved Hollyweird, where we can all be like what we are and not suck dick and sell out and sell our souls for like cream deals and all the rest. And they don't stop. They can't stop, won't stop. That was like that old can't stop, won't stop. They can't stop, won't stop. Selling out, bending over, selling their souls, trying to appeal to some larger audience, trying to suck white dick. There's nothing more embarrassing than a black guy who's supposed to be happening and claims he's from Detroit, whatever, sucking white dick because he needs a fucking daddy, right? That's just where I come from. You know, bad enough to watch white people do it. You know, it was a thing. You know, most white people that I grew up with, I didn't really respect them. We had a group of white folks who the black crackhead used to call us the Four Horsemen, pain, terror, death. I don't know which one I was. I think there was obese. There's 4 horsemen in the Bible. One of them is obese, and I'm pretty sure it was pain, terror, death, and obesity. And I'm pretty sure I was that one. But yeah, just to watch a black guy just like, oh my God, Trump's my daddy. We're going to do it. We're winning. Oh God, beyond embarrassing and pathetic. Can I get a hallelujah, amen from any black folks if they're in the audience? I know it's a limited audience here, but we're working on that. You know, we're working on that. One in the chat if you're black, and it's completely embarrassing and pathetic to watch black guys root like white women for their presidents, like, you know, do the Hercules. It's god awful. Could you please stop, Antoine? I'm asking for you. Like, it doesn't bother me any. I'm just saying for you. It's really fucking embarrassing. Can you like find your balls and become a man and understand that we're all Americans here, color aside? This is a culture issue. You know, you sell hoodies that say God over culture, and then you go full Babylonian slave, full Babylonian black slave. Not a good look, right? So if we could just update that program, Donnie's not going to save anybody. It's not happening. If you want to make America great again, you got to become great again. That means stop acting like a bunch of weak bitches cheering for a daddy to save you. Most pathetic, embarrassing. You've all been nominated for most pathetic, embarrassing moment of the year. NPC game. The next time you do a game show for 50 people and 200 people afterward, basically all the people who slug around these panels, he's a genius, that kid. NPC the game. I won't deny it. He made a game show that nobody watched, but the only people who watched it are the people who were nominated, the people who host these panels and appear on these panels. He somehow got everybody to take interest in him from that non-unity. But next time you do that, can we kick up the categories a little bit? First of all, you fucked up the categories completely and who you nominated and the clips you showed and then who won. It was ridiculous, but I'm not going to argue with that. I'm just saying for the next one, can we add some other, more spicy topics, like most embarrassing, pathetic moment for the year? And then we can run TML when he couldn't get through his sweater. It took him about a minute and a half to get through the head hole of his sweater. I can't imagine some of these people ever got out through the birth canal, right? Like this is the fastest swimmers daddy was dumping in the pool. You get where I'm going with this? It's not good. It's not a good look, people. Epigenetically, what we're dealing with here, where we're at. Some of these people were the fastest swimmers. Can you imagine like who was 10th down the line to that cervix, to that ovary? God help us. But yeah, when NPC game, I'm sure is going to see this. Someone's going to get over there to him. That's how this business works. This show business here. Can you please let him know for me that we need a most pathetic, embarrassing. You can even nominate me, whatever. You know, the day that I wore this cape, most pathetic and embarrassing, creepy, disgusting moment of the year. And then you can nominate me for the cape. I'm nominating Antoine Daniels for acting like the little black midget baby from Different Strokes who sits on the white daddy's lap. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with that. I had my say. I had it my way. We got to move on. Questions, comments. Did Iraq have a Stargate? No idea. Would you like me to pontificate and hypothesize? Are you black? Well, all the white people keep saying that I am. And when I get upset, I start calling all these inauthentic corporate white males bitches and hoes. And I never really bond with a lot of these white people. There's certain good white people, dirty white people. They care. They're salt of the earth, like technically, literally, like even by color. They're the salt of the earth, right? Like, you know, genuine, down home Americans, Canadians. Yeah, we have a mutual bond and respect because we stand on business, as my people would say. You know, so yeah, that's the thing. Like with those people, we resonate. But the rest of these white people, like I said earlier, they've been telling me all my life that I look like an N-word. I got big nose and big lips and possibly bad credit with the bank. So I may as well be black. So you see me naked. We know that. We know that. I'm okay with that. Catching a live one from a real one. Well, there you go. And I think that that person might be black, and I think that they agree. It's pathetic to watch black people submit to these disgusting white people and suck their dick because they're going to change their life when you supposedly got soul. You know, me and our people, because they keep telling me I'm albino. Every day they come in here, these white people go, is he albino? So I've just accepted it. I'm black, like Bill Clinton for all intents and purposes. I'm technically black. Irish and Italian's pretty much black anyway. Those were the gangsters. Those were the mobsters. Rappers all took the names, you know, Scarface, Al Capone. You know the thing. You get it, right? We're borrowing cultures here. It's okay. You can feel free to appropriate my culture. No one ever talks about that. I'm okay with that. I'm going to mention it here and be okay with that. I'm not proud of it necessarily, but it's just a reality that, you know, growing up on New York, part of the culture for Irish Italians is mobsters, you know, and gangsterism. And we live around them, right? We play baseball with them. They go to school with us. You know, I'll leave it there. But the mafia doesn't exist, by the way. Okay. I don't understand what that is. I don't know anything about it. It doesn't exist. But some might say we grew up around these people. And that's the culture. And black folks borrow from that. And that's okay because we have a certain resonance some way, somehow. Even if it's from the darker side, no pun intended on that. The darker side, metaphysically. The streets, the culture, the way we walk and talk. We kind of got soul and spirit. You see it. You see when you see someone like me, the big nose, the big lips, the soul, the spirit. I get in the room with the rest of these crackers, and you see the difference, right? They're boring as all get out. They got no soul. They got no spirit. They got no get up and go. Okay? And that's typically, at times, a black quality. That's why a lot of their women want to fuck black men. Because their men, quite frankly, are boring and uninteresting. They're not very animated. They fuck like a dead corpse. It's embarrassing. And I'm trying to help these people. Okay? You people. You white people. I'm trying to help these people. Trying to get their lives together. All right. And Antoine, stop acting white over there. I'm sick of it. All right. I'm just gonna say it. It's absolutely ridiculous. Guy's living in a condo. He's flying on JetBlue. He's eating kosher meals. He's wearing rainbow hats. Stop it, Antoine. Snap out of it. Let's get back to your roots. That one day I went over there, you were flashing me $3 million transactions and telling me you got hitters and you're from Detroit. And then you want to say, Trump's your daddy. Didn't I say I was going to get off this? I got to get off this because I'm going to keep going on it. I can't believe it. And I want it to get back. It's really what it is. I want this to get back. I want them to know that I see it for what it is. What people group are you referencing with black? I don't know what that means. Can we try full sentences here, please? There's only 3 things that blacks care about. That is money, sex, music. That shows you how shallow the black race is. And also they duck out when they get a woman pregnant. So you realize that you just did the thing where you characterize the whole group of people based on a limited interaction or understanding that you have, that I'm not denying exists, that there are not certain communities where a lot of this stuff is rampant. But you can't say, there's no such thing as a black race, by the way. We're all a human race. Let me help you out here. Let me help you out. We're all a human race, and then there's different shades of that race. Okay. And I'm not going to act like in my own experience growing up, and then I haven't had conversations with black folks in certain areas, and they will attest to and admit to, if they're not, getting their sort of guard up, that there's a lot more of this stuff that goes on than folks would like to take credit for. The good thing about life is there's no team here. There's no skins and blacks, right? Like, we're not in prison. We don't have to ride with our people, who oftentimes the people who look like our people are not really our people. So we don't have to play those false power games, right? I don't consider myself white, and I'm not going to take on the burdens of what all white people do. Even if others consider me white, I'm not playing this game, prison politics, of I have to defend the behaviors of a whole bunch of other people because they supposedly have the same skin color as me. This is pure insanity. Just like black folks don't have to defend or take the burden on for themselves individually for what the rest of people who look like them, or me apparently, because they keep telling me I look black. I just start saying us. People, us, we the people, whatever that is, color aside. This is the irony of this whole thing. They keep asking, am I black? Even black people are asking if I'm black. So isn't this great for what I do? Because I blurred the line for you judging me for who and what you think I am, and us just being able to get back to the facts that unite us all and the facts that divide us all, if we let it be, either way. So yeah, let's just stop with the whole, we're going to take on the burdens for a whole non-race of people based on color when we individually have choice, and many of us don't do what the rest of other people who are the same color as us do. This is absolute nonsense. It needed to stop hundreds and thousands of years ago. Why it's still continuing is a testament and an indictment on the consciousness of humanity. Could not be more childish. Broken, childlike, could not be more insane, could not be more detrimental to self-growth, self-learning, self-actualization, and realization. Okay, so while I could do the bit non-bit here and say, stop acting white over there, Antoine, you know what I mean. Stop acting white over there, Antoine, all right? But ultimately, just be free, just be courageous, stop being cowardly, stand for something, do what's true and what's right, use conscience, stop submitting to a world order that denies who and what you are as an actualized, realized beingness, a higher sense of self, right? That's color aside. That's culture, root word cult, culted behavior, or understanding of self, right? Know thyself, know the universe and God, as I did earlier when I ran a music. Sometimes before the broadcast, I do a little bit of music, and it's predominantly what I guess would be called black music. Another reason that they keep telling me I'm an N-word. But the last song that I played today before the broadcast was KRS-One, Know Thyself, the Universe, and God. So there you have it, I guess. Antoine, you owe me about 50% of what you've generated selling a hoodie that you don't live, once again, like the rest of these fake-ass guru, non-guru, presenter, Oprah wannabes. with Tom Cruise jumping up and down on the couch. You don't live your truth. You don't live a truth that is inspiring and empowering. You live the same shit everybody else lives that's going nowhere and been going nowhere for the longest fucking time. And scripturally, while you like to invoke God, it's nothing but shatanism and it's nothing but Babylonianism. And you ain't fooling nobody except for yourself, presuming you even believe in what the fuck you're saying, which the majority of these folks who host these panels and these broadcasts, I don't even think they believe who or what they are and what they're saying. That's why they've all had me on at some point and not had me on after a certain point. Because they resonate with what I'm saying and how I'm doing what I'm doing. And they know it's the core of who and what they are, even if it's a subconscious level. But they will reject that and deny that to go along, to get along in and of the world. And that's why they ain't ready. They ain't ready for a new world order on the positive side or the negative side. They ain't ready for a new world order that Klaus and the rest of these folks are bringing in with the smart cities burning shit down. Did you see? Right? Keep telling everybody they're a theorist for what they're spraying in the sky. Oh, that's contrails. No, we didn't grow up on that. And by the way, you could still go around the country and see the difference between a plane that flies and the stuff comes out and within 5 minutes it goes away versus it shoots the white stuff out and it stays up there for days on end. And then their storm comes after the third day or the second day, right? So some folks are completely retarded. They don't remember the contrails from as a kid when we were growing up. They don't seem to be conscious or aware of much of anything or have a good memory for anything, right? So that's how everybody gets gamed over and over again. You ain't ready for the new world order. They're spraying on you, and you ain't ready for new world order that lives within you in the unconscious, in the epigenetic realm, right? That is calling out to come forward so that we can have a new world order of and by and for the people. Oh, that sounds familiar. You remember that? Let's go back to 8th grade civics. Of and by and for the people. That used to be called Americana. That used to be called the foundational principles, the foundational law. That is exactly what I ride on when I get arrested over and over again and get dismissals, and I'm now suing folks. So call me a nigger all you like. And like I told the guy last night, I love it. I love it because ultimately I resonate more with that. Yeah, I was a slave. Yeah, they kept me on an invisible plantation. Yeah, I've been to actual jail over and over again. And yeah, I'll stand on some fucking business if I have to. And I'll surrender the rest. Like I'm flagging, I'll give up everyone and everything to get back what's true and what's right and meant for me in this land and these people. Color aside. See? You were born here on a common law land. You're my brother as far as I'm concerned. You're an American. Long as you live like it and act like it. You don't live like it and act like it, go away from me. I never knew you. We ain't equally yoked. Let your chain sit lightly upon you, as the founder said. One of the founders, Patrick Henry, who got up and walked off because he said, I ain't signing a constitution, from my understanding. I ain't signing a constitution that's going to federalize and create a whole structure that's going to use policy and code to pull everybody into a corporate status and standing, plantation style, right? Got a bunch of house slaves talking about voting for presidents, vice presidents, and treasurers. Those are corporate positions, dummy. What do you think fascism is? You better go do your research. These folks can barely talk, color aside. I don't care if it's white or black nowadays. Most of these motherfuckers can barely think, they can barely talk, and they don't know their fucking history. Okay? So they're giving away their rights. They're giving away their principles and freedom and personal choice. They're giving away the farm. Family included. And I got to tell you, archetypally, subconsciously, it's why a lot of you folks, women and children, don't fucking respect you because they know by watching you and living up under you all day, every day, you don't ride on shit. You don't stand for nothing. So how could you be respected? How could a woman archetypally, epigenetically respect a motherfucker who would bend over and submit to policy and code, then run around like a hoe and count money? The fuck out of here. You have no idea what it's like to be a true American. And that's a shame. At this point, color aside, we got a culture issue and the root word is cult, and they're out here flashing their cash like a bunch of low price hoes while they got no principles, no true value, no actualization, no realization, no freedom, and they got a coward's fucking heart. That ain't a good look on you, bro. Money can't unlame you. Money can't unslave you. That's my saying for 2025. Feel free to use it. We don't have a monopoly on words and terms, right? In the beginning is the word. The word is made real through manifestation, co-creation, actualization, realization. Are you on drugs? Nope. Nope. I'm on life, Baba. But feel free to project onto me because you feel an inferiority complex. Shit, if I'm on drugs, you better get what the fuck some I'm on. You better get some of that in your veins. I'm dope, but I ain't on drugs. There's a difference. You're just a dope, most likely. Forgive me. No, I'm a slave to you. I see the slave within you that I see within me that needs to be enlightened and free. So he's an capitalist and a libertarian. What a dickhead. No, you just labeled me. You just put a judgment and a projection onto me. You just had to use some words and terms to try to create an understanding that you don't have without the labels and the judgments, right? So I'm free. I'm empowered. I'm inspired. I'm co-creative. I just told you. The record is there. Check the record. Right? This is about upholding the law of the land. This is about being free. This is about mostly this channel started with the first channel, Paul Enslaved. It was shadow banned, so we came here after about 23,000 subscribers. They started blocking all my videos, taking them down, striking them, saying I was doing misinformation because I kept getting arrested and getting dismissed at court and then bringing a whole bunch of other people to learn the game so they could get dismissals at court. And we've put that all on record from now. So you could call me whatever you want to call me, but the courts don't seem to agree with most of you slaves on the right or the left. You right-wingers call me a leftist. You leftists call me a right-winger. It's incredible because you're both deceived. You're both opposite same sides of the same deceptive dynamic, right? You on Rumble? Yeah, I'm on Rumble. There's not much traction or action going on over there. But you could search me over there. It's going to be under Paul Enslaved. Right? I was live restreaming there regularly, but I haven't done much over there recently. At some point, I may start putting more content over there. But I'm regular here, right? I'm 7 days a week, over 1,000 days straight. And yeah, sometimes we're in the algorithm. Sometimes they like to keep me from that, but I'm okay with that, right? I find meaning and purpose or enjoyment, whatever I do, regardless of the outcome, until I don't, and I move on. 349 viewers. Hit the thumbs up. We got the viewers. The viewers are here till they're not. Bro lives in a shed on wheels, but acts like everyone else is wrong and the problem. Would you like to come on up and have an interaction? What's the difference? What I live in? You don't know what I have. You don't know what I have access to. You don't know who else I'm dealing with. It's ridiculous. So forgive me if at a certain point, getting arrested once every few months led me to wanting to be completely debt free, not have a mortgage, and still have all the basic comforts and conveniences of the home. So I decided to live in a trailer. Started a broadcast. It's been 3 to 5 years. And I've been quietly doing my thing behind the scenes. And, you know, since you want to talk about what I'm living in, you can stick around because me and her just found a house last couple days, you know, so that's going to be entered in trust. And it's, you know, only 3 acres, pretty decent house, you know, pretty decent sized greenhouse on 3 acres. Yeah. In the mountains and all the rest of it. It's very picturesque, right? So thank you for pointing out that I've been, you know, quietly sort of sticking to what I do, serving purpose and meaning, working with folks in the private, getting results. And I guess finding various forms of value showing up in my life. So 3 to 5 years later, we'll be at a house and we'll be on land and we'll be growing and we'll have nice mountain water and we'll have 300 days of sunlight. And you know, you'll be a loser, hater, failure online projecting shit onto me because you don't know the walk and you don't know the results. And you definitely ain't going to come up here to have a question and answer period because you also have a coward's heart. We've seen a lot of you folks around here, and it's a shame. You'd be better off asking me how I got who and what I am and what I'm getting to than trying to project onto it, demean it, and devalue it. It's just embarrassing for you, right? And I'm going to keep proving you bitch ass, hating ass motherfuckers wrong, just like I have been for the past 3 to 5 years on every level, at the courts, with the law, with the dismissals, with handwritten claims to sue motherfuckers now, county agents and the rest of them. Oh, yeah, they're going to pay Paulie boy for putting me in the box for the last time 2 days in a row, right? Gun charges, all the rest of it, dismissed. And you could project onto that too. Oh, it's because he's a white boy. He's got white privilege, this, that, and the third. Yeah, right. I've done 100 days in the past county jail. Been on probation for 4 years at one point, have them up my ass. So I've walked the whole thing. We've come full circle. I've proven concepts. Just did a 31-day fast. Proved to myself that I have discipline and discernment. Healing my body now because I came down on disease, eating like shit, you know, acting a fool in certain ways, not caring as much for my body. So it's a process, right? We're tightening up. We're getting it all together. It's an authentic walk. And I've shared pretty much all of it with these folks through trust, equity, and faith. And I've seen various forms of value and understanding and co-creation come back, and community. So again, at some point you're going to wake up, right? Probably about a decade into this journey when you finally realize who and what the fuck I am and have always been, if not getting to be, right? Because it's a long game. And you're going to stop projecting, watching, waiting, and hating. And you're going to finally ask what you should have been asking is, how do we get to something here, Paulie boy? How do we put something on record, Paulie boy? How do we show up for ourselves and others and get some kind of result, Paulie boy, and not act like a dead fish watcher, waiter, hater? See? Still waiting on that link to be clicked. That link is there. If it's not clickable in chat, it's in the description. I'm more than open to and happy to have you motherfuckers up here and have an interaction. I'm open to it out of love. Try to be nice, kind, and polite. The key word is try. I don't always succeed in that. A lot of times I go off, you know, I get a little loud. I start calling out the bitch in everybody, and maybe even in me, you know. Claim to be by far the toughest guy in the world. Far from it. I just got to be the most trustworthy, the most faithful, and the most real. That's what I learned. That's what God has taught me. They don't even know what the real prison is. Well, that's the thing, right? It's a prison of your mind, Neo. Right? It's the prison of the mind and heart. Only let you go so far and no further in any venue, right? If you want to talk fear, right? We could boil it down to a fear over faith or a faith over fear dynamic, because that's the root of what the archetypal devil and angel experience would be, that manifests from within to without, as above, so below, right? Higher consciousness, lower consciousness, everything in between, it would seem to me. So, I heard Alaska is the best place to go off grid. I don't know who told you that. You want to go off grid in a place that's constantly like an ice storm. Maybe there's probably parts of it that are not like that, but that's the idea we have of it. No, I can't see that. Okay, so you guys like to do this. A lot of you folks like to cult when it comes to the dynamic of the guy that's in the Christian scripture, in quotes. You like to absolve responsibility and accountability. You like to idol worship. You like to do everything that being told you not to do and do it against him while you think it's for him. Jesus was made an enemy, just like I have been, it could be argued, by certain Pharisees and Sadducees, because he was attempting to stand on personal choice and God-given rights and freedom and faith, right? He was attempting to lead a bunch of Babylonian scum out of their fear-based reality into a state of trust, equity, and faith, so they could do what was true and what's right and uphold God's law and the law of the land, right? What happened was he wound up watching the majority of his countrymen and kinsmen sell themselves out, trade in the temple, right? Was rejected or rebuked by his own family. So while he told them, I've said this many times in the scripture, this is not the time for violence, not the time for the sword, he then, pages later, took out a whip and started getting physical on the folks who were part of the system, right? The famous temple scene. So the same way you've seen me many times, they want to call it auditing, but when I was dealing with the courts, going to police stations and other places and them telling me, you better leave here, right? Now, if I had to start flipping tables and taking whips out on them, what do you think would have happened? There's a good chance they'd have shot me to death, or they'd have taken me to a court and you wouldn't see me for a while, if not ever again. Okay, so stop trying to absolve the being of accountability, responsibility when he said one thing and did something else, which is the hallmark of humanity, hypocrisy. Okay, I'm not saying it was right to put him to death, but the reason that they killed him is because he gave them a good reason. The pen was mightier than the sword. The word is made real. He wasn't supposed to get physical with them. That wasn't his job, and he failed. But again, is there ever really a failure? Because his story lives on today to inspire us, if we can understand it and interpret it, to do and be and have better. Most can't, and so therefore they won't. They will deny truth and reality and what's written there and the experience, and they will presume to know through their delusion and denial, and then act upon that to their own dysfunctional ends, right? And to whoever's involved in that. So let's be really real with ourselves and each other about the story and what's written there and how it relates to us. And then let's look at modern day examples of folks who walk in the same trust, equity, and faith to some level of quote unquote positive result. And let's try to imagine the difference between Christed or discernment to understand self and the universe and to do the next right thing in trust, equity, and faith versus ignorance and arrogance and foolishness, which is what that was. How as a Christed being of ultimate discernment and understanding and wisdom would you say one thing and do something else that leads to you being put to death when you know these people have been waiting for you to give them a reason to try to hang you up and you want to get physical with them? You don't think that being, just as I today, know what's going to happen if you do that, and also know that there is no point doing that because that doesn't change the outcome to get yourself martyred, right? It does inspire a whole bunch of other people on both sides to walk a Christed walk, or more importantly, the majority, it inspires them subconsciously to not to, because they go, well, you see what happened to Jesus when he was ultimately himself. You see what the world did to him. Yeah, because he disobeyed his own rules and the rules that God put down for him in conscience to not get physically violent with these people. That's their job and their role, not ours. We're supposed to transmute and transcend, not demean and devalue and degrade ourselves down to their level. Okay? So that's just the way I see it. I think it's based in common sense and a common understanding and experience, and more importantly, based in the words of the being who they keep trying to idol worship and absolve of responsibility and accountability to their own peril and detriment. The Christed story is only relevant to us if you understand that we are the same consciousness and awareness having a human experience, potentially, right? And we're still subject to the same hypocrisies, the same emotional swings at times, right? Capriciousness. And we're capable of acting upon something different than what we know is our highest good to get the outcome that we wish to receive, that is quote unquote meant for us. Enter in consequence, right? What keeps us faithfully in line, doing what's true and what's right. That's what keeps a lot of folks fearfully ordered, is fear of what's going to happen to them, right? So there's a fine line, middle ground, middle way there. You're projecting on everyone else. You realize I'm not going to listen to someone or take advice from someone who doesn't know the difference between Y-O-U-R and Y-O-U-R-E. So you're most likely also an alternate account who's here today because some other folks aren't on today, and you see the numbers are high. So you want to try to get it out to the other audience, your gripe with me, but it's not going to work, right? You guys have been trying the same crap. Instead of you realizing that I have the will of God within me just as you do, and just turn to that and work with that so you could get whatever you want and need, you keep projecting onto me your deviance and devilishness, and it just potentially interferes with all of us. It interferes with me being the good speaker who's caring and impassioned and well read or received by others. It keeps me from getting to that so I can grow an audience and then give it back to you slaves who are always constantly trying to use me. And it interferes with your ability to become like me so you can go to your channel and do the same thing and replicate. Just so you know. So let's just stop the games once and for all the alternate loser, failure, hater accounts from the last 3 years. You're not going to stop my flow. You're not going to interfere with my talent and ability. You're not going to interfere with my understanding, applications, and results. So why not just get with the pimping instead of keep acting like a broken hoe? It has to get trained on. It'll be better for me and better for you. We can get something here. I know your false self, persona, non-ego won't let you do it because you want to live in false pride instead of just accept what the metrics and the results have shown over and over again and then work on yourself and with me to do and be and have better. We'll just keep playing the false power game. Greetings, Timu Timpool. How are you? It's interesting that you showed up here today. I actually thought about you earlier. I was going to reach out to you and offer you a conversation here presuming that you didn't promote directly or indirectly, just so that we can allow me to be more trusting, right? It's a not you, it's a me thing, right? So that I can grow in trust with you.
I'm always down to burn bridges. What were you thinking about?
Well,
or
no,
was it
you
just
didn't
a
do
generic
that. See,
conversation?
because you're doing it. Because you're okay.
What?
Let me help out here. You're doing it. Okay, now I feel better. Tim Pool. The
Wait, put my
promotion.
thing back.
The
I even
direct
took the ad
promotion-
off for you. We can meet in the middle there.
No, we don't need to promote. Right? It's too early. It's too early. You have to work me a little bit. You know, you still haven't learned. You're doing what I was just speaking about. Taylor, you have to learn, if you're going to bang me, at least take me out for drinks and dinner first. You know, you got to work me a little bit. Put in a good 4 to 6 months like you did to use Slackcot to promote on his show,
shit.
right? Give me the same, I would think give me the same respect and willingness to learn to trust, right? You're helping me out. You're a very evolved man. You're cool, calm, collected. You're obviously confident in yourself and your outcome. So why not just humor me? So that I can build trust, right? I'm the neurotic,
we can glaze
insecure,
each other. Yeah. I'm Timu Tim Pool.
Right. Help me out.
All right,
help me, help you, help me.
Got you.
What can I do for you? What would you like to talk about? Presuming you have anything.
So I'm curious a little bit about your ICE views.
You're saying the immigration control, whatever it is?
Right.
I think it's a bunch of nonsense. Ultimately, I think that this is all potentially staged and set up like most things, or allowed to happen. I think it's politically motivated, it's financially motivated, and or just because those things exist, allowed to happen to just create more chaos, to then bring in more false solutions, to allow folks to manufacture a problem to create a solution. I mean, it's age-old Hegelian dialectic, right? I mean, this is nothing new. We understand what's going on here. I'm sure you understand this. I heard the tail end of you speaking yesterday, and I heard the term, I believe, Hegelian dialectic. So I'm guessing that that's where you were.
I don't disagree with it. I guess I was just a little confused by your comment. If you had to pick a side, I agree. It's a Hegelian dialectic, and it's being used for a different agenda. But within just the paradigm of one side or the other, do you have a strong position?
No, because this whole system of deception operates off everyone taking a strong position, one side or the other. That's how it works, playing both sides against the middle. So I will always reside in the middle as much as possible. And what I mean by that is, if I'm for rights and freedom, and I'm a spiritually faithful person, then what do I care who's going where, what, why, when, and how? If they're not causing loss, injury, and harm, I'm not interested. If they are, well, you know where they're going. Right? They're going to the jail or to the graveyard. So that's been the same outcome from the beginning of time. It'll be the same till the end of time, and no amount of political science in between is going to change the outcome of what is. Right? All it is going to change potentially is our ability to move around, our ability to have personal choice, our ability to have a proper status and standing on the land under God with rights and freedom and personal choice. And that's all it's designed to do. Right? It's more demo crazy, more mob rule, more corporatocracy, more fascism, more statism, more slavery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you caught the tail end, you know that I'm fairly against the drummed up immigration issue or enforcement.
Well,
I assume that you are as well, right?
Yeah, I'm really not interested in being told that I'm going to have to some way, somehow, potentially vote for or fund a corporatized endeavor to police a whole bunch of people and decide whether they have ID and numbers and accounts or not, and then subject them to some kind of criminalized experience, right? They're not causing loss, injury, and harm. If they're paying their debts and they're not causing any loss, injury, and harm, they're just as American as anyone else to me. I don't buy into this idea that a legal system and a corporate edifice somehow stamps everybody, legitimate or not, to be on a land and be considered an American. Who they are, how they live, what they do, and more importantly, what they don't do, decides that. I mean, this goes back to the old joke of give us the illegals, take the Talcots. You know, someone's got to pick the fucking
Hold on a
watermelons.
second.
Someone's got to traffic the cocaine for slow state allegedly in the past, or whatever it is, the meth, right?
Could
Just
you
like the
imagine
heroin
having
that I was
Talcott as
using
your
at one
mule?
point.
Talcott would be the worst mule ever.
Yeah. Good luck trying to shove a kilo. Well, then again, he might enjoy the first
you could
part,
fit
but the
you
walk.
could fit a kilo up there. You just would have trouble managing him.
Right. He'll have no problem with the first part. It's the
Right.
walking 50 miles across the border to delivery we're going to have an issue with.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, listen, I don't see color. I see culture, root word cult. And you got a bunch of commie, collectivist, corporatized, needy scum on this land who are white and call themselves Americans. And you got a bunch of work hard, trust, equity, and faith. It's not all of them by any means. I'm not doing the other side either, where everyone who's brown and Latino has a halo over their head, obviously. Right. But it's like, you know, I got a bunch of white people on these panels you can take and bring over there, and I'll take them fucking illegales any day. I got Mexicans here I'm working with. They're the nicest, most open-hearted, open-minded, and traditional hardworking people. They are Americana. You know, Ramiro and these people that I work with, I'll take them 10 out of 10 times than the majority of these white scum I see on these panels.
My old plug was named Romero. He got deported. Bummer.
Yeah, here we go with Joe Moore. They keep going with the race. We're all a human race. There's different shades of the same race. Okay, so
this really isn't a race issue. Yeah, this isn't a race issue at all. Race is just used to sort of smoke screen.
Yeah, it's an ethnic thing, right? It's a color and ethnic perspective. There's no differentiation in race, right? These folks aren't birds and reptiles.
It's not. It's got nothing to do with skin tone. I think that really most things I think don't have anything to do with race or ethnicity or whatever, skin color. I think that's a distraction because it puts people, it pre-assigns you your category, right?
Yeah, well, that's what it's meant to do. The more that we define, you know, through the legal system and society and these words and terms, the more we divide and separate, and then we can be brought back under the unification of classism, quote unquote racism, you know, corporatism. All the isms lead back to the same ism to me, which is shatanism, which is really just a political, non-spiritual, you could argue, non-conscious movement of deception, right? How do you deceive a whole world of people and get them to see themselves and each other in a way different than what they could be or truly are? And it just happens to work. I mean, historically, Shaitan, this is why the scripture says the whole world is in the hands of the dark one. They never lied. This isn't religionism. This is actually what's happening, because the spirit that lives in humanity somehow, some way would rather choose division so they can create the illusion of change than actually ignore the divisions to find the unification to be the actual change. It is so paradoxically, fascinatingly insidious and ubiquitous, and it's just ironic, and it's in all of its ways of manifesting. Right, the panels are another example of that holographic reflective idea, man.
I was just about to mention that.
Right, and I see. This is why I was going to reach out to you, because I started to see, and I know you're not going to like that I'm going to claim partial credit for it, but I am, because I really see that or believe that. I will say me and these mediums have made a change in you and other people, and it's a change toward, remember, I don't know if you remember at one point I said, we are brought together to interact because at some point you're going to take what you have, which is some level of common sense, and it's going to go to the next level in spiritual faith, because you're going to recognize the holographic reflective nature of this universe. And you kind of laughed it off and thought that I was being arrogant, and I get that. It's happening. Right? The interactions with me and other characters here in these panels have started to open the door to a lot of folks realizing we're not so different, you and I, as the proverbial cliche goes, right? And there is a space inside of all of us, if we can get a handle on it and achieve an understanding, where we can be the change and co-create and get whatever it is that we want or need or what's meant for us, right? And that is God. You know, as far as I'm concerned. And the absence of that is the world, predominantly, what we're seeing.
Okay.
You don't? Do you agree somewhat? You agree?
I
can
don't know
tell
that
by your
I'm-
facial expressions and your countenance.
Well, I'm not sure.
You don't
if
like the
wanted
way I
to
phrase
push-
it.
Actually, the thing that you phrase in this sort of spiritual thing that I disagree with the most, you didn't actually say now, which is the whole "we are all one" or "we're all one."
On the
being.
highest level, you have to be clear about what I say. On the highest level, I mean as a pure consciousness and awareness. On the lowest level, I am not Jack Talcott. Like I am, but I'm not.
But even on the highest level, like we're not one consciousness, right?
I believe that we are. Like there is nothing inside of everybody's vessel other than pure conscious and awareness. The brain and whatever everything else brings in, this is where the argument of is conscious local, non-local, a little bit of both, a little bit of neither. I contend based on my holographic reflective experience that we wouldn't be able to talk to each other or have these experiences if we weren't one conscious and awareness. Now, where that conscious and awareness is at the time and is oriented and what it believes, right, or accepts about itself locally changes the experience, right? So this is very sort of local, non-local, conscious mind, unconscious mind, sort of, I guess, spirit, which would be pure conscious and awareness versus the, nature versus nurture is, I guess there's different ways that you can put this, but it's part of the dualistic experience that on the highest level, we are pure conscious and awareness. On the lowest level, we've had experiences and developed beliefs and ideas that either bring us toward the one self consciousness and unity or away from that, right? So that's why I always qualify. On the highest level, we are one self. On the lowest level, we're miles apart because of perception, application, results, understanding, or lack thereof, right?
I don't know. It just seems like if you want to approach things from that angle, once at that higher level, there would be no we, right? Paul and Taylor cease to be individuated entities.
Well, it's I. At
Right.
that point. What's the difference between I and I? This is why the Jamaicans say one love, right? One truth, one light, one way. The Christians will say one love, or they'll also say I and I. They don't say me and you. They say I and I, because what's really the difference? Like we could get into some things. You like hamburgers, I like pizza. But guess what? If we both eat hamburgers and pizza, we're going to the same place, right? For the same reasons, So we come to learn that there really is no separation in who and what you are and what I are, because the majority of what we do is the same, and we will have the same outcomes if we do the same things, positive or negative, right? That's pretty much evidenced in our experience. Now, there's a variable there, right? You got a genetic sort of variable, it's sort of like part of the randomness component. There's a randomness component and deterministic component. But ultimately, it's like, if you continue using methamphetamine and I continue using heroin, our life is worse off than whatever it is we're doing now, right?
We'd probably get to that oneness state a lot faster.
well, no, because even in that, there's another sort of one self on the highest level, on the lowest level, miles apart, because a meth head doesn't hang with a heroin addict unless they're going to steal something,
I mean, they might run into each other at the same place.
Yeah,
Passing.
At the scrapyard, at the pawn shop,
right?
At the dealer's house.
I got this copper.
Right. It's like you imagine the sine wave, right? Kind of like even the heartbeat. If you zoom in on the lowest level, you'll find the highest level. You zoom into the highest level, you'll find evidences of the lowest level. That's the holographic fractal nature of this experience. If you zoom in on the heartbeat on the monitor, there's always this crisscross, the same way as the DNA spiral they show, right? It's like, this is the experience of conscious and awareness on the lowest, most minute level, which then reveals the highest level. There's never a separation. The only separation is in conscious and awareness, apprehension or not. Once you start to see and understand, the connections are all there. Right? That's what I like to call life on life's terms instead of life on our terms. I think that we all want the same things. Now, this is why I use Slackcott as an example, because he's the ultimate bullshitter and denier and living in denial. I don't try to pick on him, but I know that lives in me. That's how I can recognize it in others. But we all want the same things, right?
And then fairly honest about a lot of his issues. Probably too honest.
In what sense?
The ones that he's cognizant of. Oh, he's told all of us all of his fucking past bullshit. And
oh yeah, he's honest about what's happened to him, but he's not honest about what could happen for him, right? He's honest about what happened to him because he wants to play the perpetual child victim and get sympathy and false empathy, and then use it as a leveraging point for power and value. And it hasn't worked yet, right? It's not an actual attempt to connect with other human beings and relate, as far as what I perceive. But again, it's not that he's done that too much. It's that you don't believe that you find power and value by sharing all of your shortcomings, right?
That's correct. I don't believe that. Actually,
Right.
I think it's detrimental to share the whole world all of your secrets, as has been proven by him. Right? We can look at it and we can see that there's, but
I like this because I got to disagree with you, because I'm an example of someone who I shared pretty much the same stuff, and you could argue it would be a detriment if I let it be. It's actually a source of courage and power for me, because I've shown vulnerability, and I've shown different aspects and sides of me to make a more complete picture, right? So when it comes to false power and value, it's detrimental. True power and value, nothing like that could be detrimental, because I'm more real, right?
All right.
I'm more transparent.
Good point. I'll see that and reapproach what I'm trying to say.
Authenticity is a great power and value, right?
For sure.
Is what I'm saying. And it transfers.
No,
it
I absolutely agree with that.
Like,
Especially
people
if you're
can
gonna come
relate to you
YouTube.
way more, as crazy as it sounds. If you were to get into all the grimy, disgusting, darker aspects of you, they will project onto you for it. They'll reject it, but they will relate to you and they will respect you.
Sure, I absolutely agree with that. That's not what I was, especially on YouTube. Like, we spend way too much time in front of too many fucking people to think that we can pull off lying to them and getting away with some bullshit.
That doesn't stop folks from trying.
No, not at all. I'm more talking about the things that you are not done working out, or that are still open, the freakouts in the bathtubs, shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just about your capacity for being open and honest and authentic, and reconciling that whatever anybody says or thinks or feel doesn't matter at the end of the day to you. You could argue that's where all your power is going to come from. That's where all my power and value comes from, is the fact that I could get on here, act like a nut, show all my lesser well-received aspects of self, and take power back over that, because I say, well, I put it all on the table, right, wrong, or indifferent. Different aspects of who and what I am, and you like it or love it. It's not going to change the fact that I can learn to like and love me, good, bad, or indifferent, right? That's where I found true power and value, is complete accountability, authenticity, and surrendering in faith. The rest of what anything that has to do with people, places, and things, right? You got to give everything up to be given everything back. That's how you find your high vibe love tribe, as Jesse Hal and others would like to say. Let's hear all the dark, evil shit, man. Bring out all that. Let's own that
what
dark
people
side.
want.
It's not only what people want, it's what motherfuckers need. You need to start honoring who and what you are, good, bad, or indifferent, so you can understand it, so you can either accept it or change it. If you ignore it, it will overtake you.
Integrating the shadow.
This. There you go. And we've seen how folks on these panels, time and time again, failure to do that is their own biggest shortcoming and detriment, is not adhering to or admitting to their shortcomings and detriments, right? And then they think they have power over others by projecting. I know me. We're back to 8 Mile. What are you going to say about the whore bitch that I'm with? Because I already put it out there, right? What are you going to say about my mama who's a crackhead? Because I already put it all out there. That's how you take power and value back over the situation. I put it out there first, right? I'm real about it. I'm accountable. Now watch what I do with the rest of it, right? It's Marshall Mathers Central. See, the other side of that was Randall had some real nice parents with a real nice marriage. Remember that one? They all want to come in there as Papa Doc and D-Loke and all the rest of this shit, right? But they don't want nobody to see a man cry. See? And where you find vulnerability, oftentimes, where you find the real shit that nobody wants to look at and admit to, is where you either find your true power and value, or where you lose it, right? By denying what is. We can't deny what is and keep our power and our value. And that's the Talcottian dynamic. And it's not Talcottian. It lives in me so I can recognize it in others, right? It's because I'm not exempt to these dynamics that I could speak about it. Lewis, how can I help you today? How can I and my new... come on, bro. You're putting the thing up again? This guy doesn't stop.
I thought that we had been here long enough.
No, see, that's the
All
thing.
right.
That's the thing. No, I decide that. Can you just let me have some... didn't we? I talked to you already, right? Man, he just wants to hop right. I might have to let you go now. Timpo, I might have to let you go.
Oh, now that Lou's here, you're done with me.
No, it's not even that. It's just I have to teach you. Unfortunately, this is how you all learn. You don't learn by love and care and true bonding and honorability and good faith. You learn by consequence, right? It's unfortunate, but that's how it goes. And it's a shame because I was enjoying our conversation. I was interested to see where it was going to go potentially, but you just can't help yourself but to go back into regression to that addict part of you that wants instant gratification and is willing to be an opportunistic user. I'm willing to
allow you to be an opportunistic user as well.
I don't do it. That's the thing. I'm not asking what other folks allow me. I'm not coming to Slow State's area and coming up on his panel and promoting my area and my channel names, both of them, not even one of them, both of them in your name. You have to understand, I'm now sort of a wounded animal. I'm now the pretty girl at the party who's been raped 8 times and taken advantage of. I'm very wary of using this place and what I do in this audience to promote and give people access to other channels where we're going to do drama, gossip, hating, back and forth power games, tribalism. I had way too much of it for the past 2 or 3 years, and now I'm not wanting it, right? And it's just part of my boundaries, at least initially. I'm not wanting it. So while I do want to interact with you potentially and kind of bridge the gap and maybe work on content or just have interesting conversations, then we can see where it goes. I don't want to be used anymore. I don't want to be abused. I don't want to be taken advantage of because no good deed goes unpunished, as I've seen. And quite frankly, I don't really get any benefits from folks who keep using me for my numbers and platform. They don't pay me. They're not thankful and grateful. They don't promote me in their area, and they use the audience that comes here and what I create. So it's not really personal to you till you make it that, right? If you can understand me and why I am the way I am, you will somehow adhere to my wishes if you see the value in it. And if you play
that's a Talcottian perspective right there.
If you play a long game with me, at some point you will sit at the table with me and you can draw water from the well, right? But again, we have a history. I'm not going to live in that history, but I can't forget that history. And you have to be cognizant of that, right? It's like, there's been a lot of things said. There's been a lot of things put out there. We can show that we're turning the corner to practice good faith and honorability. But it has to be an organic, authentic process. It can't be forced, right? Because then I'm not going to be thinking about actually talking to you and co-creating and sharing with the audience. I'm going to be thinking about power games and nonsense. All right, I'm throwing you out.
Hello?
We'll try again tomorrow.
What happened?
He wants to keep every 5-10 minutes putting in his headline there his 2 channel names. Oh. It's like it's the first day that these folks start to see me doing over 2 to 3 to 4,000 views up to 20. They see that my counter was up to 350 earlier, and they just can't fight the urge. Even if we have good content and conversation, they can't fight the addicted, opportunistic, instant gratification urge to use and to try to redirect and misdirect. So this is the audience that I'm cultivating. It's based on who I am and what I do. I don't want to give it out to other places that doesn't do what I do regularly and does other things that come back on me. And that's well within my boundaries and my rights. See, I'm not a fuck show open panel here. That's over. It's done. Right? I'm not a place where just any riffraff can come through here and do and get whatever they want. It's somewhat directed and curated. I'd rather do an hour of clips and restreams and various comments and go away and do it all alone, then start to call this back in, right? So it has to be gradual if we're going to do it. It has to be authentic and organic. It has to just unfold naturally. It can't be forced, because then I'm going to go, okay, you really don't respect me and what I do. You really don't want to work with me. You just want to use me. And it's shades of Talcott again. It's shades of Slow State back a year ago. It's shades of Illuma Tranny, right? And then I start to go, oh my God, these people are never going to go away. They're never going to leave me alone. They're never going to stop sucking off me and using me. They're never going to stop pretending to like me or respect me to try to get what I have. It just doesn't feel good. You got to try to picture yourself as me. It doesn't feel good, especially when I don't do it to all of you. You never see me go to other places of these people we know and put up my @ symbol or my channel names or anything else, because majority of the time we all know each other. The audience knows already. If they're going, they're going. If they're not, they're not. And it reeks of using. And quite frankly, most of you folks don't have that much of an audience that I'm going to get anything from it. And you keep wanting to draw from my well. And then invariably, by putting your feces-soaked spoon into my well, you poison my well. See? And then I got to like flush it. I got to drain it. I got to refill it. I got to bubble the air bubbles and the stones in there to make sure that it doesn't get poisoned again. And it's like a long game process, right? So, Slow State, I threw you out. Why are you still back there?
You didn't throw me out.
You're upsetting me. It's disconcerting to see you.
You didn't throw me out. You just wanted to complain for a while because you're sensitive or something.
No, it's because I have boundaries and wishes, and nobody will follow them because they don't respect them or me, and they cross over them to try to get what they want. And then I have to show them that they're not going to play me and play games with me.
Isn't this what you wanted when you showed up in my chat yesterday?
I'm here for you. We'll work together more if you're willing and able and can respect my boundaries and wishes. But now I have to. Now we have to go. You have to go, like Don Corleone, right, Lewis? And now you have to go.
And that's you, by the way, Slow State.
That's me. Okay, I didn't expect that from you.
But it went. But we're making progress. It went a little bit.
We're
better.
making progress,
We're
Lou.
opening
I know
up.
that you. I know that it bothers you.
That's why I came up here. I literally came up here for that reason, because I thought maybe there was room for progress. But
we were doing great until you got here. It's something about your energy, I think.
Yes, I have bad energy. I get it. But listen, that's neither here nor there. The point is, if you're real, then you'll hear what's real. If you're not, then you'll just stay where you are.
If I'm real.
Yeah, if you're real.
If I'm real.
Because so far what you do to me doesn't seem real, right?
How's that?
It's just a game. It's a cope. It's a way to try to get something for nothing. It's
what would real be then?
There's no life behind it. There's no honor behind it.
You don't think that people really play games sometimes?
Well, games is fine, and I do it all the time in the chat.
I know you
get
do.
Shit for it, but that's not the point.
What's the
you're
point?
living it. I might come and play, do a little bit of pissing on the chat once in a while, but
you do.
Living it is a whole different game. You're living it.
You are playing a game right now by pretending you're not playing a game, Lou. This is the game. You're playing it.
7 in the fucking morning. I wake up the internet. Who's on the fucking internet at 6 in the morning? Fucking all your cronies that never have anything to say that has any sort of value, any sort of substance.
This is more of your game, Lou.
Understanding, like, where does it go,
Lou? This is more of your game, Lou.
I'm not playing games, bro.
You are playing a game by pretending that you're looking for something significant or real or whatever the fuck it is.
Well, see, that's not like a good see, this is your Slow State. You're you're indirectly revealing why your personality and beingness doesn't translate here, because you believe folks like me and Lewis and others who are looking for something real in life and in ourselves are playing a game. It's sadly not a game. It's a real experience. So we may be crazy. We may not align with your sociopathy and psychopathy, but it is actually our experience. We are really on a quest for what is good, for what is true, for what is beautiful, for what is real. And we're experiencing that from time to time. It's not a game. The fact you think it's a game worries me about your psychology and state of inner beingness.
So that's why at 33 minutes yesterday, you came in and said clown. The only comment you make. You're not looking for drama. You're not playing a game.
I was talking about Antoine. Did you think I was talking about you?
Yes. And then when I asked
well, there you go. That's your insecurity.
It's my channel. It's my, yes, I'm the only one on stage.
You were watching a video of Antoine, and I said clown as he was talking. You interpreted that as me coming in after weeks and months to call you a clown. Well, that's your fear and insecurity. Stop projecting it onto me. When I want to call you a fucking clown, I do it, don't I?
Yeah, you did it, and now you're playing a game and saying that you didn't. It's fine. I'm not bothered by it. I'm here.
This is my point. You're now manufacturing drama that wasn't there, so you can bring it to your area.
There's no drama. I have no issue with that.
And did you miss the first 30 minutes I did today on Antoine? It wasn't about you. You'd have preferred it would have been about you, because then you'd have something to talk about on your Vapid channel. I wasn't talking about you. I called him a fucking clown because you were playing the video. I even introed today by saying I checked in on Slow State for the first time in 4 weeks. He was playing a video of Antoine. He's a black slave clown. And I did 30 minutes today on Antoine. I did not call you a clown. You said I did when I didn't. You're now saying I'm lying about it so you can generate drama. This is why I don't like you and want you around, because there's no good deed that goes unpunished. Did I treat you like a clown today? Did I disrespect you? Did I play power games? No. Did you treat me like a clown today? Did you disrespect my wishes? Did you play power games? Yes. Are you projecting onto me we're not real because you're a fake ass insecure motherfucker? Yes.
Are you playing power games now?
Drama to bring to your Vapid channel? Yes. Does it matter how I treat you or how I respect you or what I give you an offer to? Will you continue to default to your broken, addicted, dysfunctional ways? Yes. And it's why I can't have you around. So if you prefer to think I was talking about you, when the first 40 minutes of this broadcast proves I wasn't, instead of just cop that you misunderstood as always, you miscalled the shot, and you're now become the talk of the town again and the source of this broadcast, which is all you really want, to be seen and heard and be the center of attention. Another reason I can't have you here. Until you get real with yourself and others and be able to see and know and understand and align, we're never going to be able to get along past a certain point.
And this is where you need to get real with yourself and admit to yourself that you don't know everything about everybody. You're projecting yourself.
I don't need to know everything about everybody. I know what I did. I know why I did it.
How will you know when I'm real with myself?
And what they show. I know what you're doing and saying. I know what that shows and what it leads to. I don't need to know about everything else.
Here's a question for both of you.
Goodbye. You just proved today on 5 different levels why I can't have you and other folks who are like you here, Taylor Talcott. Your fear, insecurity, lack of resolution, actualization, realization, your inability to be humble and to ask questions to get answers, and your arrogant projections undo you and everything we could create. And then you ice the cake by saying, Lou, you know you're playing Paulie's game of actually wanting to be real and have something real in this life. No, that's all we have left. We're addicts who got away from addictions and are still getting away from addictions and only have a certain thing here left in this life as a source of inspiration and co-creation. And it's not hubris. It's not arrogance. It's not ego. It's not false strength, false power game narcissism like you're doing. And that's why you can't relate. The word is relationship. If we can't relate, we can't get in the relationship and sail the ocean together. So highest self on the oneself on the highest level, on the lowest level, miles apart for obvious reasons. So now I will kick you because you won't leave even after I put you in the back and tell you to leave. I have to kick you because you're parasitic, codependent, needy, opportunistic user. And when the opportunity goes away, you still keep trying to weasel in and use.
Don't forget desperate.
Desperate, yes, because he can't get over 40 live viewers and 400 people that look like 2,000 if he does an 8-hour broadcast.
Yeah.
I got it.
Extremely desperate.
I got it. And there's a reason why. And there's a reason why. Because do I have to go over the list? No, because it makes me sound arrogant. So it makes me sound then all the things that they are when I have to go over the list to remind them of why I have access to certain things that they don't in life. And it's archetypal. It's somewhat objective. It's the reason they all come around here and stay around here when I keep telling them, till you get your shit together, we're not going to be able to co-create. And they keep trying to avoid that for everything else. Oh, let's come in here with a Republican talking point, see if we can bait Paulie Boy to show some interest, which worked because I thought you were actually going to like focus on content and serving the audience. Boy, was I stupid. You can't get away from serving yourself for more than 3 fucking seconds, Taylor Talcott. If you guys would just come on and figure out how to give some fucking interesting, exciting, entertaining content to the people, everything else would work itself out. But you want to focus on everything but that. And that's why you keep losing and failing. And every time I have you folks here, my numbers get cut in half or 2/3, proving why I don't want you and need you, because I don't want to end up like you. God, I wish it could be different, but it obviously can't be. And I'm glad everyone gets to see the dynamics over and over again. I'm glad folks get to see it's not my egotism, arrogance, and narcissism. It's theirs they keep projecting onto me. I just want who and what I am and what I have without doing the fucking work to get there. How about you show up 7 fucking days a week for 1,000 days straight and put your heart all the way into something? Maybe some more will show up for you.
They want what they want, but they don't want what they need. Or they don't even look for what they need. It's just whatever they want.
That's the characterization of an addict.
Yeah.
I would know it because I've been one all my life and I'm trying to work out of it. And being around you people doesn't make it easy.
Hey, Paul, what about Talcott? Like, does he seem to you to be the guy that was the little guy around all the bigger dudes, and he fawns upon them to gain acceptance so that they don't beat the shit out of him? I mean, that's what he seems like to me a little bit.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but he's not necessarily worried about me or others beating him up. He's another one who just wants what other people have. It could be, pick a venue. Peace within self that he claims to have, he doesn't have, he's jealous and envious of. Power that he claims is something he doesn't want, he's jealous and envious of. Money, value, women, pick something he's not jealous and envious of because he doesn't have it and can't get it no more without lying, cheating, and stealing, and then feeling like shit about himself by the end of the day. So it becomes a rock and a hard place dynamic because the demons just can't figure out there's one way in and one way out of this. And the one way out is doing everything they tell everyone else to do that they haven't done yet. Check your ego and pride. Look at the damn facts. Get out of your feelers and imagination and move forward without fear into faith. Just live everything you keep telling everyone else to do on here that you haven't done yet and watch the magic and the miracle happen. The irony, the levels of irony is just fascinating.
I think that Talcott gets caught up in the illusion that marijuana can present to some people where they feel like they can actually get something done. But
and never leave the couch.
And never leave the couch.
Yeah, I think that you're blaming marijuana for that. Like, I obviously have smoked a ton of reefer on here. It's never altered.
But it depends on the person, you know, how they interact with it. And
how delusional and depersonalized and detached from reality they are, right? That's a natural trait or nurtured trait. That's got nothing to do with the weed. The weed may expound on that. But if you think Talcott putting the weed down is going to make him any more grounded and realistic and discerning, I wouldn't bet on it.
No, I think it makes him wildly erratic and insane because he's always he hates me.
He's not erratic. He's very predictable. If you mean unfounded and unreconciled, yeah, but he's not. He's far from erratic. You could set your watch by his rap and his moods and his expressions. Yeah, I literally play a game with her. I go, let's start with love. We'll start with peace. We'll go to bring the panel up after some mumbling. We'll then project onto them, throw them all out, apologize for it, then tell everyone you love them. Peace, brothers and sisters, exit, start over, do it all over again. You can set your watch by this shit.
As soon as I get up there, he tells me that I'm a fucking, I'm a nincompoop and a buffoon and all this shit. And then he tells me that I'm disrespectful to him. I never called him that shit. You know?
I've watched it. Talcott's a special one. I've been fascinated with his non-walk and non-journey for the longest time, along with the sociology, the psychology. I've not denied it. I'm beyond fascinated by it. I pretty much watch every broadcast to some degree, 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes at least. And I've seen it over and over again, right? It's the same thing he does with everyone, brings him up, projects his fear and insecurity onto him, sees his family and everyone who's left him and everyone around him, and then throws him out and says, I wish everyone would stop misunderstanding me and disrespecting me.
Yeah. Well, I love how
you.
Illuma Tommy, you know who that is, obviously. And he
Illuma Tranny.
No, we don't know him.
He fucking puts Jack over the coals, right? He rakes him over the coals. And that guy is accepted on the panel every time. But I barely said a goddamn thing, and I'm not allowed up there now.
Yeah, right. But this is the thing. We have to go back to what is it in you that needs to be up there or wants to be up there?
I just want to roast him a little bit and challenge his beliefs with my beliefs, with my...
Right, but this is what you're all doing. You're indirectly fueling his fire to continue. Right. Yeah, so you obviously don't want to stop it or change it because you keep giving him a source of a perceived enemy to then play the victim and then feed his power base that he's so persecuted like Jesus. If you guys would just leave him alone and stop interacting, he would fail and then either change or go away. And that's how I know you actually don't want it to stop. It gives you some purpose and some kind of empowerment or some kind of rush to be a part of it. Because he's more likely to commit suicide actually, or based on like career wise, it's all going to go to that point anyway. You're delaying the inevitable. And I'm not saying I want that. I'd actually like to not see Jack Talcott off himself or destroy his credibility to a point, as if you could ever do that if he hasn't done it already. But I'd actually like to see the arc of Jack at some point take a turn to where he experiences some success. Like, even though everyone's going to kind of not like it and be like, oh, he was supposed to fail, right? Like, this is the game. You have to see the game within self and within life, that you count somebody out because they're ridiculous and insane. I've been one of them. And then through the process of experience, if they have any kind of wherewithal or awareness, they start to change 1% at a time even. And then the arc changes, right? We're all looking for that arc and it's not coming. And the more you keep fighting with him and resisting him and projecting or even understanding and speaking what he's doing to him, the more he's going to create the image he's a victim, the more he's going to stay in resistance, the more it's going to fill an hour and a half of his time and he's going to say he did another broadcast. You all just need to leave him alone, do your own thing, better yourselves in your life, let him fail at his own right, and then succeed.
There are times, though, when it's fucking very entertaining to see the delusion that he cloaks himself.
But this is a person. This is my point. You guys have to, and this is coming from me now. You guys have to, see the broadcast side of it and the absurdity and insanity of all of our experience. And then you have to remember, this is a person. He has thoughts and feelings. He has a life.
No one's forcing him to be on YouTube. No one's.
It's not about YouTube. Nobody's forcing you to not have any kind of empathy or understanding and to project whatever you want and need to substantiate your life that maybe is boring or has lack of meaning to make an enemy out of him.
Maybe the devil is making me fucking poke him and prod him because.
But that's my point, sir. It's the devil playing with the devil. And then the devil wants to call itself righteous because it gets another devil to act more devilish and deviant. See the game for what it is.
Sure. But on the other hand, it's also an educational process because if you get him to wake up to the fallacies that he allegedly believes
that is your fetish and fixation, like Illuma Tranny. You're both the same. And you're playing into a thing that I attempted to play into that I've dropped at some point because I realized if life itself and a family and a child and money and career and a house leaving him isn't enough, Zatoichi's not going to do it. So your ego, your false self, as you believing you're going to change Jack Talcott, just like his wife thought, just like his son thought, just like Wealth Management LLC thinks.
I'm not going to change him.
Can't change Jack Talcott up until this point.
It's more like a Socratic kind of thing where you ask him questions and then get him to fucking realize that he's full of shit.
You're becoming the void, sir. You're staring into the void and screaming into it, and you're becoming it. You're wasting your time, energy, and attention playing into nothingness.
I know that, but it's fun.
Well, there you go.
What does it say about you and what you're doing and not doing? That's the question everyone should ask.
It says I'm a terrible person.
No, it says that you're foolish and ignorant because at some point you will be Jack Talcott and you will have to cope with that when you're old and weak and sick and delusional.
I am old, weak, and sick. I'm 55
years old. As long as you recognize that, and can accept that and cope with that, then nothing more that I can say, right? Then you, in a way, in your own strange way, you're trauma bonding and empathizing.
Not really.
Then not really. Say what you mean.
I have nothing in common with Talcott because I perceive him as being a weak individual, and I don't see myself as being weak like that. I don't look to other people.
Well, nobody sees themselves as being vulnerable or weak, and guess what? There's a bitch in everybody. It may just take more to get it up out of some people, but test the universe to see and watch and wait.
Oh, I understand that, but test me, very, very hard before that happens because I've been through a lot, man.
I don't deny that. There's always more to go, and it's not a competition. The point is, ask yourself what it is that you want and why you want it, and you're going to find out part of your character and then what needs to change or not.
All I want
what you want to be in life.
All I want is to have enough money to be left alone for the rest of my life to pursue my own interests. That's all I want.
You don't need money for that.
No, you kind of do, because if you can't eat, then it becomes a problem.
Well,
believe it or not, people ate before money, but let's not get into it.
Yeah. But anyway, Paul, do you know?
I really have a hard time believing, by the way, that money is your biggest problem. Just like Jack Talcott, money is usually not everyone's biggest problem. They'll say it is. Their biggest problem is the way they think, feel, act, or don't act, which creates how much value they have or don't have in their life.
No, I'm not worried
back to square one.
I exhibit my value.
You just told me you value poking and prodding Jack Talcott to pretend to be righter than him, while at some point you're going to live the same life as him and not be able to cope because you can't make any value because you value things that don't matter.
You missed the key point. You said that I'm trying to trip him up or make him,
Do you have enough of everything that you need?
No.
So why are you spending your time, energy, attention poking Jack Talcott, who you believe to be is an insane person? How does that get you more value and what you need?
I don't get any value out of it. I get amusement out of it.
Why aren't you building what you need? Why aren't you creating what you need? Why aren't you bringing value so that value can come to you?
What the fuck is
You're
value?
just sitting there not doing anything and playing with Jack, then nothing's coming to you.
What is value? Do you think I have no value in my regular real life? Do you think that people don't look to me for help and advice and for fucking, fixing shit?
Look, please. Just let me take this through. Who's looking to you for value and advice? I have to hear this.
Everyone. All my friends,
everyone.
my relatives, my friends.
If I ask his friends and relatives, it's nobody, I would bet. You are Jack Talcott, I suspect. That's why you find a home with him.
Paul, you're
going to run now out of insecurity?
You're losing the plot, Paul. See you later.
So you are Jack Talcott because Jack Talcott also runs every time he's held under questioning and can't cope. Do you realize that this was the most fascinating display right there, what you just did? I couldn't have written it any better myself. You just did Jack Talcott, where every time I see you, you're chain smoking cigarettes, you're in a satanic looking room, you claim to be enlightened, but you poke other claiming to be enlightened people to have fun. Same thing he does when he's not being the most loving guy on YouTube. He's another guy who says he needs more value, but doesn't know how he's going to get it. Spends his time fucking off with people on YouTube for free. When you're questioned and challenged, you run away and say that I'm delusional and denial. But then you make absolute claims and statements like everyone in my life needs my advice and asks for it. That's what Jack Talcott says. Anyone else? I know Lou's laughing because he says, is anyone else down there seeing what I just saw? Even down to the running when he was just slightest bit of pushback. Didn't he say he wasn't weak, by the way? Jack also says he's a leader and is strong. And then when the least bit of pushback, just a little wind, right? Someone breaks wind in his direction, he folds like a lawn chair or has to become a control freak.
I'm wondering how
you just did Jack Talcott from A to Z while picking on Jack Talcott, and this is another difference between you and I. I've contended from day one that I see the Jack that lives within me because I'm self-aware. The rest of you claim he's insane while you are him and have the same lifestyles and make the same choices and even have the same coping mechanism and the same reactionary states.
I'd be curious to know how he feels about wars and legal secrets.
I think wars are inevitable. And I'm not a fucking coward like you're implying, Paul. So
well, why'd you just run when I asked you a question?
Because I have shit I have to do. I have 3 fucking songs I'm supposed to learn by tomorrow.
So what are you doing here?
Because I'm wasting time and avoiding doing what I have to do.
Isn't that what I just said you were doing with Jack Talcott and myself and others, wasting your time, energy, and attention? So you were taking my advice. Because I know you better than you know yourself, like most slaves on here, right?
You don't. Fuck you.
I do, because what I said, you said wasn't true. Then you just admitted it later, like the guy yesterday. I was right. You're ignoring your responsibilities and obligations to play games on YouTube for free, and it doesn't get you any coin of the inner or outer realm. It doesn't get you anything other than wasting your valuable time.
Well, why do you care what I do with my valuable time?
I don't care. I'm revealing your foolishness and correcting it so you can do and be and have better. If you don't want it, go fuck your time, energy, attention off somewhere else.
You done?
The question is, do you actually care about anyone or anything, including yourself, and everything that extends off of you?
I care about certain people and certain things, but I don't care about everything and everybody like a fucking woke piece of shit.
I didn't ask you that. And caring about everyone, when it comes to right and wrong or what we're able to do or be or serve, isn't necessarily a negative thing. Right. So I don't know how that makes someone a woke piece of shit because they have.
I'm a sociopath. I don't have to fucking care about everybody.
Right. Okay. So again, like if you think that it's prudent for you to label yourself as things or to accept what you believe to be your default and not work on that or change that, well, then why is it a wonder, or maybe you've just completely accepted your shitty life and results while calling it something else? So I give you credit, I guess, because it's another Talcottian quality. He won't admit to being a sociopath and only using love as a tool to try to get what he wants and needs.
Love is bullshit. Love is bullshit, especially.
No, that's for you.
Love. No, the Christians are always talking about love. Meanwhile, they're the worst motherfuckers going.
That has nothing to do with true love. So we can talk about folks weaponizing the idea of love who are not actually experiencing it, or we can talk about the idea of a true care or a true love that actually is a source of empowerment, inspiration in one's life and relationships.
Yeah, but where do you find that? You find that from
You don't find it, you create it. And the way you create it is by not... Excuse me?
No, I was just going to say, if it's real, why do you have to create it,
What does that mean? How does that relate to anything else? If a chair is real, why do you have to create it? If a house is real, why do you have to create it? Because part of having the experience or using the utility that is inherent in creation is putting the pieces together, right?
But the chair part of the experience. The chair doesn't exist prior to it being created, is what I'm saying.
Right. And this is the idea.
You're making it sound like there's this this benevolent, force that's just out there that we can tap into or something. And
I'm not making it sound that way. I'm saying I'm not making it sound that way, and it's not out there. If it's out there, it's in here, because as within, so without, as above, so below.
Oh, so you're into witchcraft then? And
no, you will project a label onto everything to try to demean and devalue because you're a devilish person. You've already admitted to it. There's the devilish laugh. I couldn't write this any better. Every level, every line. There's the maniacal, devilish, disconcerting laugh that I guarantee keeps everyone in your life away from you while you claim everyone wants your help.
Really? Because everyone's fucking coming to me asking shit. I don't go to them asking questions.
I totally could see that. I bet if you started a channel, it'd be the biggest hit ever, right? You're not one of those.
I have a channel and no one comes to it. What do you want from me?
There you go. Because again, typically things replicate in life. So you're telling my story again, as you'd like it to be your own, just like Jack Talcott, when it's actually the inverse. No one, I would bet, in your life comes to you for anything because you're disconcerting, devilish, and bizarre, and you don't even have any answers for yourself, let alone anyone else. So only
I
the
have answers.
blindest of the blind and the most broken would come to you because they're on their last legs. And I
Or
wouldn't
maybe
deny
they
that
come
that's
to
all
me
your friends
because
and
I-
family,
maybe
because
they come to me
typically
because I have
birds of a
wisdom
feather
and
flock
I have
together.
that
You're talking over me because you want to take false power over the situation because you don't like the idea that I can see you for who and what you are. Delusional,
Right.
in denial, devilish, deviant, dysfunctional, disempowered, disintegrated.
You fucking octoroon. You're so perceptive.
I know I'm perceptive, and that's what gets you devils all riled up. When you do your fake laughing, there's your fake laughter because you're disempowered and riled up, and it goes right back into that look of yours. So you're devilish, you're deviant. I have a Holy Spirit within me I've tapped into. You don't know what that is. You don't experience love in your life. Your whole life is based on disempowerment.
Asshole, with your assumptions.
Bye, asshole.
Bye.
You're the asshole. You're the coward.
You're
the
the
wicked
asshole.
flee. The
'Cause you
wicked
won't
flee
shut
when
up
none
making
pursue. The righteous are bold as a lion. I know who and what you are. It's only a matter of time before you folks swing around here. You saw the door open with slow state. Why is it that you guys always have red lights behind you? Why is that? They always show you and tell you who and what they are on the world stage. Why did Slow State take why did Slow State's wife, non-wife, take the test for him that one day that she gave all the answers for and said, I got the answers for you. You're a sociopath, and gave it to him. She went and decorated his room, and because they both share a same spirit, that's why they're called together. That's why they resonate. They all know to put the red light behind them. Why is that? Why is that? I'll ask. Why do they all have to have the glaring red dress, devilish connotation, symbolism in and around themselves? Why? By the fruits you will know them. And they're always deceiving. They're always in denial. They're always disempowered. They're always grandiose in their covert, overt, narcissistic cope. Everyone loves me. Everyone comes to me. Everyone. Ask them to show you any of it. Call up any of their friends and family and ask them and see what you get. It's laughable, right? At least Talcott, I'll give him credit again. He's honest. He goes, every one of my friends and family and pretty much everyone leaves my life and wants nothing to do with me. Yeah, because you're all the same. And then the greatest part is when you all show up in front of each other, you all reject the black mirror. Zatoichi shows up at Jack's because Jack and Zatoichi are one and the same reflection. Neither of them will cop to that or admit that. Neither of them will recognize what lives within them in order to understand it and reconcile it. And pretty much they're an opposite because one claims to be wholly endowed with zero results or resolutions. The other one claims to be a complete nihilistic atheist. Another opposite reflection, but the behavior still the same. The lack of understanding still the same. The non-application still the same. The non-results are still the same. The greed, the selfishness, the money-hungry lovingness is still the same. Talcott's not fooling anyone. He wants nothing more than power and fame and money while doing and being nothing to get it and realizing he's boring and delusional as all get out. Beyond fascinating reflections. And then I once again have to go off into my hovel later and reflect, how much of this am I doing and not doing? The interesting thing is it doesn't show up in my presence the way it shows up in each other's presence, which is one of the reasons why I believe it doesn't perceive that it's dealing with the same energy or same force. It perceives that it lives in me and wants to get to it and get it out if it can't go any other way. But it actually comes to me with at least initially, wanting sympathy, wanting empathy, wanting understanding, wanting a place to work from, but it quickly devolves and shifts into, no, Paul, you're just like me. I know you're just like me. Bring that thing up out of you to show you're just like me. Oh, I am just like you on the darkest and lowest level. The difference is that I've recognized it, I've reconciled it, I attempt to understand it and direct it, and I attempt to serve something outside of that thing and myself. And because I do that, it seems to be sort of a neutralizing, mitigating force, at least at times. Allows me some sense of peace and true love and passion for what it is that I do and am being and living. But even the passion can be a bit deceptive and deleterious if you let it be. Your thoughts, Lewis? Questions, comments, concerns, and other fascinating, I guess what you would call 1,000 years ago, demonic exorcism slash simulation replication experience. Another complete delusion, denial, perception, deception game. Another revelation experience, maybe for someone out there. One person out there today. I will do like Billy Graham or someone, but I'm actually doing it. One person out there today, it might even be the guy talking right now, is going to get a revelation today about who and what he is, what he's been doing and not doing, how all this crap that's reflected on here applies to him, because we're in a holographic reflective universe. The parts reflect the whole reflects the parts. As within, so without, as above, so below. That's what that means. Ancient non-mysticism wisdom that checks out every time. And if you ask the participants, every one of them's different, every one of them's special, every one of them has answers. Ask them to show their record, ask them to show what it is that they're a part of, ask them to show their community, ask them to show their fruits. By the fruits you will know them and the results. All they can come up with is red lights, false claims of love and empowerment, while they have nobody and nothing with them and around them, and no kind of staying power, because they have no integral beingness. They have no integrity. They have no core sort of beingness that they've cultivated or become aware of that allows them to navigate the ocean of their emotion, which is oftentimes deceptive. So they see what they want to see and ignore what they don't. And their perceived understanding, that is a lack of understanding, continues to delude them and keep them in denial. Go ahead, Lewis. Are you as fascinated as I am about whatever this human experience is and whatever this realm is that we've incarnated into? And more importantly, I guess, this metaverse and what it's showing and revealing to all of us?
Well, the metaverse, as far as I'm concerned, is starting to wear very thin on me personally. Yeah. Other than here, I mean, I'll go fuck off a little bit. I think I'm banned completely on Jack's chat now. I did enough chaos on that chat, so it's all the better, because it'll give me more resolution to stay away, resolve to stay away. But yeah, there's not much out there. I don't know. It seems to me it's at least on these screens. And
Yeah, it starts to become the same thing over and over again.
yeah,
And that can be whatever you want it to be, like any experience in life, because it can just lead you back to recognizing how boring and predictable life can be, and also how much nuance that there can be, and novelty, in the sense of what more we can do and be or experience or build or just co-create with, right? Or just be at peace.
yeah.
So
And
I
that's
think
what I've been
it's a
doing a
tool like
lot.
anything else, you know.
That's what I've been doing a lot of, actually, on, because I do, I'm always kind of doing something, and so I'll put something in my ear to listen to, and generally it's not these panels anymore. It's more like, I don't know, just interesting
I'm
people
on Bigfoot
talking.
lately.
Huh?
I'm on Bigfoot lately. That's my new thing.
Bigfoot? Oh, no,
Yeah, because the
I went
panel's
through
done the
that
panel,
years
like
ago.
life has done the same thing to me. So I got two ways to go with this. You could go the negative way, that will be self-defeating, and it's the addict in you, right? Life's boring, it's predictable. Is it really? Go look for Bigfoot, because these people say they wanted to find it, and when they found it, they were sorry they did. That doesn't sound boring, doesn't sound predictable.
Well,
Right.
I
So
don't
this is what it
find
is.
it.
You got a crossroads at every experience, right? Of what to do with it. The gray area or the silver lining, right?
What I find boring is the whole panel thing now. That's what's boring to me. Despite the fact that sometimes I find myself drawn to it, but yeah, there's nothing there, it seems, right?
It's
It's
rapid, it's
just
empty, like the people
empty.
participating in it.
Yeah, it's
You
just,
still watch me, Lewis?
yes, of course I do,
All
all the
right.
time.
Then that means
Pretty
I'm on to
much
something.
pretty much every day. But yeah, I've been like listening to guys like Neville Goddard, different stuff I never really listened to, stuff that's a little bit more on a different level, trying to learn new things. I don't know. I did the whole Bigfoot thing probably 20 years ago. I don't know.
Oh, you did that already. See, all right, go fuck yourself. You're not going to do
I
Bigfoot
did
with
that
me?
years ago.
All right, well, you could do it again. I did Bigfoot a while. I'm doing it again, all right? The fuck? I can't do a little Bigfoot here and there? 6 months at a time?
Did you see the big finger that they found?
Oh, no. I know what you're talking about, I think, back. And I'm talking about the encounters. You know me, I'm always going to be interested or fascinated with psychology and sociology. And I'm always going to be fascinated with what it is that we don't know, or what it is that's on the periphery of experience, that if we were to go into it, we would learn more about ourselves and life and have a novel experience. So legal and lawful, like, you can tell that's who I am, because legal and lawful is that, right? Like, the world we occupy is on the fringes. It's for the minority, but it's truer than what the majority have accepted, right? And that's Bigfoot, right? That's potentially, I don't know if it is. I'm not like, I'm not saying it, but I'm saying if I wind up doing an arc, I'm going to do an arc of like Art Bell or something, where I was like, okay, I still do legal, lawful, spiritual faith, but now we're going to search for the mysteries of the universe. Yeah. Like, okay. Because it showed me that there could be aliens, there could be Bigfoot, there could be anything, because the mind immediately says you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You're making shit up. You just want to be famous. Like if anyone's going to choose to be famous, it's to be the Bigfoot guy, right? Like you didn't invent some amazing technology. You're the guy who saw Bigfoot. That's what everyone knows you for. There's a good chance that they really saw something. The question is, what is it? And what are the implications if the rest of us see it, right? So I think these are journeys that kind of can excite you or inspire you in your life. And it's part of the life path, right? Is revealing more and more of what is in here and therefore out there, and vice versa. And then more and more sort of knowing more, but then also wondering more, or seeking more potentially. I think that might be part of life that I'll speak for myself. A lot of us have been missing out on, is this this want or this need to know or experience or see or have more, and not necessarily in a lustful way, but in a like a child again way, right? Like they say, you have to become like a child to get in the kingdom of heaven. We can't be too structured and too rigid and too know-it-all without being open to new experiences and perspectives, right? That's where you kind of die, it would seem.
That's kind of what I've been doing. I've been opening myself up to new ideas, new thoughts, just new stuff altogether. And that's part of why I came up, because you guys were discussing, what's his name? Slow State said, oh, we're not all one self, right? And that's an area that I've been digging into within myself a lot. And the question I wanted to come up to ask him a question about it, right? And I was going to ask him is, where is he? Like, and not like, where is he on this land, or
you mean right here?
Where is his spirit? Where does his spirit exist? Where is it? Right. And so,
well, this is why one of the things you ask people sometimes, and we should do this more here because it's interesting. You ask someone, point to you, right, on your body.
Right.
And they'll either go here or they'll go here or they'll go. Right. And that can sometimes be a window into who or what you're dealing with, right?
Right. Yes. And that's what I've been, I've had this sense in me for a long time, the idea of the infinite experience, and that we're here, we're all infinite beings. We're all connected to this one infinite thing, whatever it is, I don't know. But as we're connected to this fleshly body, we're somewhat unaware of what it is, but it's definitely connected to everything, everyone, every being, everything. Like even a bug under the carpet is not
that throws off the logical, quote unquote, rational mind, right? The logical, rational mind cannot conceive of a enclosed or interconnected system that the quantum physics reveals is not only possible, but is the field of existence, right? Conscious and awareness is in a field of magnetic existence that connects all of it, either directly or indirectly. That's how things are influenced, right? It's no wonder we call this influencers, because it doesn't matter how in the corner you are in the universe.
Yes.
The numbers and all the rest of it don't matter. You are in the universe. The 100th monkey effect shows that. So by virtue of me doing and being who and what I am, the way that I do it, it will affect the field, and it will affect the outcome of conscious and awareness and the experience we're having here. You know, and the failure to understand that and see that, and the denial of that, is what keeps these people so unfulfilled and unsuccessful, right?
And desperate. Like I said, I think their biggest problem is their desperation. I really do. Because they're constantly searching and never finding. And so, because like I said earlier, they're looking for what they want rather than what they need. And what they need is that peace and understanding that we are all one. We really, really are. And it's scary to come to that realization, because what do you mean? I'm not me? No, I'm you. You're me. We're all one thing. It
Well,
doesn't
there is
matter.
no you or me. That's the point. There's the appearance of you and me, but there's pure consciousness and awareness. We need the individuated process to make a choice. But then again, the choices always lead, right? It's like a split road that always comes back together. It's a single road that splits and then comes back together. It's the appearance of the duality and the independence that allows to have the experience to then recognize oneness or lack thereof. You know, it's the old idea of, if you take a drop of water or a cup of water from the ocean, it's still water, even if it's in a droplet form, right? At some point, it will return back to the ocean some way, somehow. I mean, we're in an enclosed system. You can see, right, like a glass bottle, it rains down, the water goes in the ground, the water comes back up, the water cycles, it turns into physical form, spiritual form, right? Vapor form, gas form. It returns back to physical, and it retains its looping qualities, right? This is what the recycling is. So what makes you think that
water?
There you go. What makes you, this is why they'll say be like water, or have an understanding of what is as far as the nature of water, because there's nothing you can experience in this realm that isn't a reflection or a replication of self on some level, right? So there is no separation between us and the water, so much so we need it, it needs us. Well, it doesn't need us, I guess you could argue, but we need it in order to coexist and co-create. And because we need it and we experience it, we are it.
We are
right?
it.
If not on the whole level, 80% at least, whatever the number is. And of course, just like the water, we have a physical component, we have an air component, it's why we breathe, we have a spiritual component, the vapor, right? You know, it's, you get what I'm saying, in the sense of, we don't have to necessarily, I mean, again, I was going to say we don't have to know what the implication is here, but it would seem to me the implication is clear. That it's one truth, one life, one way, one experience, one self, one love. And this is why men like Zatoichi say, well, where do you find that love, right? You know, as if you're going to go looking for it out somewhere with someone, right? You become that. You access that in you, right? Like the Tao says, you can't know God or you can't name it, but you can be it or be with it. That's the idea. God's love is true love. True love is God's love. It means you love and care for all life, all people, places, and things, right? It doesn't mean you necessarily interact with them all. It doesn't necessarily mean you tolerate all their behavior. It doesn't mean you don't necessarily hold them accountable and show them where they're wrong or where they could do better, based in what's understood, repeatable, demonstrable, explainable, definable, like we all like to say here, you know, the able words. So yeah, this is oftentimes why they project onto me ego, as they like to put it, because they're in the mask, they're in the false self persona that's identified with individuated body consciousness. I'm over here, everyone else is over there, right? They see separation. So they project onto someone who sees self as exactly who and what they are, right? I'm united with higher self as far as my experience goes. It's the one self idea. Once you start to see self and consciousness that way, it brings a different level of confidence and faith. They perceive that as superiority complex because they're in an inferiority complex state of division, higher sense of self and consciousness. This is not just a bullshit rap that I'm putting together. I'm talking from my heart and my experience.
But they feel that because they're afraid of it, right? So they want to label it. They want to label it. They want to say, oh, that's bad because that scares me. I don't understand it.
But you know what's so silly, Lewis? Did you see Taylor before when I was speaking what I was speaking? He was almost laughing to himself while processing, knowing what I was saying on a subconscious level was true, but then having to go to his mind in order to substantiate how it's not, right? It's you got to love the game, right? It's like dealing with a child. So I go, okay, you get to be free to have your own thoughts. I'm not going to continue the nonsense and the foolishness. I love you.
Go play.
You know, exactly. Go play with your mind and your divisions and your games. Because I see the higher game, right? I see the bigger and better game and the illusion and the wheel within the wheel, right? I see the wholeness where you only see the parts of the whole. And so it's like, how do you give somebody what can't be given? It can only be experienced. And it can only be experienced if you shut off your mind and your beliefs and come back to your truest resource. They go, where do you find true love? The truest resource, pure conscious and awareness, you know, the energy inside of you animating you before you overlaid your beliefs and false perceptions and diluted experience onto just what is. Why do you think people take 6 months, you know, years off and go sit in nature in silence? It's to be able to apprehend the state of beingness inside a self that the majority can't if they try to, and subconsciously and consciously rebel from. It's why all of them don't want to go to jail so bad. They go, Paulie, we'll do anything, including vote for a savior, sell our souls, be a corporate whore. We'll do anything other than do what you do, because what's going to happen if they put me in a cell alone with God? Oh, they already know what's going to happen. They're going to be forced to confront themselves for the first time ever, what they've been running from. That is actually what's going to save them. They're so in the devil's child modality that it would be shocking if it wasn't par for the course.
It's interesting. It's amazing. It's sad. It's beautiful. It's
everything. It's everything and nothing. It's the alpha and omega, right, Lewis? And I go, you guys don't understand what you keep running from is your only way out. There's one way in and there's one way out. And it's a lot easier to get in than it is to get out. But once you're out, you'll never go back in.
And
why
you have
would you?
To go through it. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's over.
It's it. The game is over. Now you start living. The game of life is over and your real life begins, right? That's what they call reborn. That's what they call new eyes to see and hear and feel and be, right? This is all scriptural allegory. This is all Tao Te Ching. It's in every scripture while not being in any scripture. Because if I put it in front of the majority of folks, they don't know what's being said there. They look with the eyes and don't see, with the ears hear, with the heart not get the sense of it, and never have the experience of God, and go around telling people like me, I'm not having it, because they meet a bunch of fake ass Christians all day, every day, that I tell the same thing, they're not having it. I go, you and I are not so different. Once again, I know the ones who are having the experience by what they do. You can't tell me you know God and have true faith and are scared to die or go to jail. You can't tell it to me. A motherfucker doesn't pursue enlightenment to sit in the corner all day. They pursue enlightenment to become truly free, so they can do what's meant for them, not do what they're told they can and can't do. Get it?
And then they go to Jesus as if like somehow he's there somehow to save them, when the story of Jesus is like, I mean, there's dozens of stories that are exactly the same as the one that's in the Bible. So it's not about the character, it's about the idea. And it's something that they think that it's there to save them, when no, it's not there to save them at all.
Right, but we can't see that the story is there for us, because once again, the limited perspective says that's him, this is me. Right. That's a son of God. I'm a lowly scum. Right. It's like yes and no. You know, every question is a yes and no. Like it's true in some sense, false in some sense. And the logical, rational mind can't reconcile paradox, right? The heart can. How many times you loved a bitch and know it ain't gonna work out? The heart knows, you know, can reconcile paradox. You know, how many times did you want to be a man but had to access a sacred feminine part of yourself to be a better man, right? The heart can reconcile paradox. The logical, rational mind can't do it. That's again why the devil lives in the mind, you could argue, archetypally, right? This is why you say, where are you at? And they'll say, oh, I'm right here. This is me right here. You know, well, what is that? The mind, the witnesser, the experiencer, heart-based intelligence, you know, and then even the idea of the heart-based experience oftentimes can be emotional and deceptive. So we have to create clarity with that idea. Because they'll say, you mean emotions? No, that's energy emotion. That can go this way, that way, up, down. Beyond all that is a clearing. And in the clearing comes an understanding. Right? With that understanding, the meaning is in the word, standing under whoever, whatever created all this, you get to lead, guide, and protect and reveal and get resolution. See? And if you ain't got that and you ain't showing that, then you ain't tuned with that. You're in some kind of delusion and disempowerment. You're deceived, right? See?
Spiraling. Yeah, exactly. You're just going around in a
Song
circle.
says, I do hate Jack and I don't give a fuck who knows it. Well, you're
Who's
entitled
that?
to do whatever
That's
you
the guy
please.
that was up here?
Oh, no, I don't. No. That's someone else who's, I think, come around more recently. But yeah, you don't have to. I don't think it's good for oneself to hate anybody or anything. You don't need to hate in order to see who and what it is and to know what it's doing and just not give it any time, energy, and attention or power, right? And then maybe even to be a part of a solution if you're able to, right? But that doesn't mean to waste your time, energy, attention with others who are not seeking that with you or don't believe that you could be part of that with them. So there's a fine line there. But I don't really hate anybody, you know, because I just don't want to live in hate. I don't like what they do and I don't have to.
Sometimes even the devil has to be loved. I mean,
Right.
not that you know, the devil is wonderful or great or does, but sometimes I guess the devil does good. I don't know how, but I
Well,
think
the
in some
devil,
ways.
the devil taught me how to be somewhat of a good or great man to some
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah.
Right. So would I have really done that or been that as selfish and greedy and whatever else as I was at one point, pursue goodness or greatness and serving something outside myself? Doubtful. Still to this day, even with the idea of eating, it's the same idea. You know,
Are you
I'm
still
so
fasting?
selfish and greedy. No, I stopped 31 days in, man, because I've had gallbladder stones, and I believe that potentially this whole problem I've been having, because the bumps
Yeah,
on me
that's a
are
hard
still
one.
there. They did shrink. I thought for sure I had cancer because so many people in my family have been dying from cancer. I may or may not have it, but it seemed that that the gallbladder started giving me trouble because I wasn't eating the way I know I should, and then I think it started affecting my pancreas and other organs. Is the best that I'm kind of putting together. We're kind of reverse engineering.
Wow. Fasting is
Um,
definitely an amazing, wonderful way to reset the entire endocrine system. I mean, and those stones can be a real fuck. Have you passed any stones?
well, I took that one of the flushes, and it looks like it, but I don't think that's what it is. I think it's a soapy byproduct. But
Right.
it seems to be coming along. I'm gonna potentially get a scan on Monday. I have an appointment just to see what they can see and maybe if they have something. But I've been trying to use natural remedies as much as possible to kind of
I don't have a
see if I
problem
can.
using the medical system for stuff like that. I mean, the medical system, again, like the devil, has its benefits too, right? And doing stuff like scans, doing imaging, doing, you know, finding out, seeing things that's one of the things that the medical system, I believe, has value in. Right
Yeah,
now,
the
what you do
tools.
with it, that's up to you. But anyways, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know shit about shit, but
Yeah, the tools are there. The tools can help you.
yeah,
Oftentimes, the solution they come up with is very crude
right.
and
That's
profitable, but not as
right.
holistic as it could be, right? So,
Right.
you know, you take what you can get from it and leave the rest.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Where you take, you see, and you may the how does it go? The saying, "Thyself be thy physician. Let thyself be thy." You know, how's that saying go? It's in the Bible, I
Yeah,
guess.
physician, heal thyself.
Physician, heal thyself. So
Well, that's what I've been working on, man. I think fasting kind of aggravated it more, and then just it was already because it was feeling like it was across my lungs and through my back. And the more I was looking into it, it says pancreas issues can cause that. And I was also having like what seemed to be pain in my bladder and frequent urination. I'm still having some of it. It seems to be intermittent. So the more I'm looking into it, the more they say, well, pancreas issue can double and sort of look like diabetes. Because it started to seem like I had 4 or 5 things going on at once, and maybe I do.
Have you checked your blood sugar?
No, but that day that I ate after fasting, I almost passed out, and it felt like diabetes situation. But it was also pain up here and all the rest of it. So what I'm kind of deducing is the gallstones aggravated the pancreas. The pancreas started to present as like 3 to 5 symptoms of a quasi-diabetic syndrome, and that the more I've been reducing the inflammation on the pancreas, and sticking to certain plants and herbs that are supposed to work the gallbladder, it seems to be changing the frequency and the intensity of the experience. So I'm thinking that might be a good majority of what I'm experiencing here. But I still have other things going on potentially. Again, it really doesn't matter, man, because whenever you're going to go, you're going to go. And ultimately, it's about living right from now till then. And the majority of the shit happens because you haven't been living right from then to now, if that makes sense. So anything that I have, I did it to myself. I have nobody to blame. I've been given ample chances over and over again. And my lack of responsibility and accountability, discernment and discipline, not even my discernment, my discipline and will has just been lacking. It's very Talcottian. So it's no wonder why I get disease in my life. Now I have a choice to change it and better it. And I'm doing that. Or I'm going to keep fucking myself. And God is going to take its ability to work in my life and protect me away. So I can either learn a lesson or die and reincarnate, I guess.
Well, listen, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you know my position. I'm not going to go there, but you know my position. But today we're talking with my son. We went to the auto auction. I actually bought a car today. I bought a little Ford Transit for $2,000, which was like, I could not believe I got that deal. But anyways, we were talking about exactly this issue about how, we're all going to die no matter what. We don't know when, we don't know how, but what's not inevitable, I believe, is the suffering. Death is inevitable. Suffering, I see now in my life, is a choice. Because I did choose it for a long time, not knowing it, and seeming to always be in the same spot, spinning my wheels, feeling like shit, living like shit, sleeping like shit, fucking like shit. Everything was crap. And I've turned that around in a way where, because it's my choice, it's all of our choices. To suffer is a choice, to die is inevitable, right? So whatever that means for you, you decide. You know my position, but whatever it means for you, you decide. And all I could say is that I wish that completely the best for you, and I pray for you always.
Well, thank you, Lewis. I know that you and others here care about me.
Yeah, I do, definitely.
And, want to see me at least get arrested at least 2-3 more times and go to court and do some more content. So I'll live partially for that and for what's true and what's right and to not have pain.
A couple small stints.
Yeah. Small bill. Hey guys, I got a small bill. I just got locked up. Buy my trifold. It won't help you at court, but you'll support a guy that you love. You'll support me. All right, Lewis, get the hell out of here. You're out here buying fucking cars, guys like Dukes of Hazzard. Why don't you buy a fucking piano case when you die, you fat bastard, so they can bury you in it?
I've been driving an old piece of shit Honda Odyssey that is like literally falling off the road, like falling apart literally off the road.
An Odyssey.
Yeah. And I had to get something. So I've been like putting away money and trying to save some money. So I saved a couple grand and I says, okay, let's go to the sale. So because today there was a sale that had a whole crap load of Bell Canada vehicles and Hydro Canada vehicles, and they're often taken care of very well. And then they look, they change them over every once in a while. They had these probably 400 of these little Honda, not Honda, what do they call them again? The little, oh my God, now I'm forgetting what it's even called. They're these little, oh fuck, what's it called again now? Those little, they look like a little minivan, kind of like what OTW bought. Ford Transit, that's what it's called. And I went in, and the first one that came in, I fucking bid on and bought it for $2,000. And everyone after that went 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. It was like crazy. I go, and I got the best one, literally the best one. And I think everybody was kind of, they want.
Lou's like the opposite of an American black. He's a Sicilian black, where he rides around, like he's like me. He rides around in a $2,000 shit box and then wants to have however much in land, like Singer saying that. He's got $4.5 million in land, and he's riding around in a 25-year-old Nissan. He's the opposite of a Negro who rents at the apartment and has an Escalade.
Anyway, in the end,
come on, Lou, find a middle ground, you fucking Ginzo, you cheap Ginzo.
That. My son drives a $100,000 pickup truck, and in the end, he bought one too. Right. The last few, he went and bought one for $2,000, same price, a couple kilometers more. He says, "Well, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it as a beater." He's renovating some houses.
Well, that's the joke, right? I mean, you wind up buying one of these older, cheaper cars, and it'll wind up somehow running better than the fucking expensive new shit.
This thing runs like a clock. I could not believe it. And I just said, fuck it, I'm buying it. I bought the first one. And it was the best one. 135,000 kilometers for $2,000.
They're telling you should start a broadcast. Here we go. Let's create another monster.
Fuck. That's what I need in my life.
Put a love sign behind you.
Yeah,
you tell people that you know God and that you're the most loving man on YouTube. It'll go somewhere, man. You tell car stories. Hey, you leave the house more than once every year and a half too. So you'd be like, I left the house today. Show a picture you leaving the house.
I want to start wars and make everything secret.
I want more secrets and more wars. I feel like it'll lead to enlightenment. Yeah, the more wars and the more secrets, the quicker the enlightenment will come.
That's
what I'm
it.
thinking.
Everybody's got to have no choice.
It's an inverse relationship. That's what the profane can't understand, right? The profane can't understand the profound paradoxical. That with more secrets and more wars comes quicker enlightenment. You're delaying the inevitable.
That's it.
All right, I'm throwing you out of here, Lou. I got to thank Julian Barbary. I appreciate you, Lewis.
Love you, brother.
You as well, sir. I look forward to seeing Lewis someday come down to Oregon if I wind up there. I'll be closer to Lewis now, and Slackcot if he's not dead already. 2 days, no Slackcot. We got to go on start the Slackcot counter. 48 hours, no trace of Slackcot on his channel. We're going to launch an investigation. Times like this, I wish I had a slave foo warthog creature to release to do an investigation. I'll have to find a new one who's somewhat more tameable. Doesn't call me a pedophile, say that I assaulted cops and that's why I got arrested, and just tell a bunch of lies to demean me. I got to find a new warthog. All right, I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm back tomorrow, somewhere between 12 and 5, barring some act of God or the state, which we know more and more each day. They're becoming one and the same thing. The average citizen slave thinks the state of corporation is their God. Yeah, much love, much love. I said it twice. That's how you know it's real. Paul and Convinced on the way out. Say goodnight to the bad guy.
Hey, who the fuck you think you're talking to, huh? Who the fuck you think I am? Fucking dumb boy? Brother. Do you want to go to war? Come on. Do you want to go to war? We'll take you to war, okay?
This is an arduous task. You need discipline and will. There's nothing fucking guaranteed. That's called being a man in life. Where else in life do you get fucking guarantees exactly? Can you find something in life being a fucking man that you get a guarantee over and isn't worth doing because it's difficult, testing, challenging, and requires something of a motherfucker to get it done? Where are we at here? Seriously, what fucking realm am I in? bunch of inauthentic corporate beta males who want to just say shit that makes no sense and avoid the inherent hierarchical power and value systems, meaning and purpose and principles written into the cosmos and the fabric of reality, one with self in conscience. Would you please stop? We're done. I'm done with you. If I can see you and know you, the damn universe and whatever runs it can see you and know you, and it's doling out as we speak. I'm saying you got to bang it out sometime. I'm saying you got to go to a box sometime. I'm saying you got to put some shit on record and surrender in faith and not know where it's going to end up. That's the whole point of doing what I do, because nothing is guaranteed. It's called cosmic gambling, you bitch-ass motherfucker, and you wouldn't know nothing about it because fortune favors the bold, and you're not fortunate.
God
You're
damn
an
it,
unfortunate
Paul.
slave. I can tell by looking at you. That's why we're in slavery and genocide, because weak fucking bitch-ass males create hard times. Go ask the Hopis who prophesied that. Don't argue with me. They're supposed to hate. If they ain't hating, right, then we ain't doing what's true and what's right. How many motherfuckers you think were hating on the Christed being in Scripture for walking around like he had a pair? For telling everybody and their mother and brother, you better hate your own father and mother if necessary to ride with this God in truth. They forget how that being was walking around telling them, you're a status fucking infidel slime, and so are they, and you better come out of her, my people, or we're all going into judgment. You folks still haven't figured out the only reason I got to this point is because I abolished my ego and aligned with universal law completely. What you perceive as ego is your ego and narcissism you're projecting onto me. I've killed off my false sense of lower self to unite with a higher sense of self to do what needs to be done for all of us. That's the absence of ego, not the abundance of it. Projecting fuck slaves. The egotistical, narcissistic ones are the ones who haven't done what I've done yet and continue to not do it because their fear runs their life. They're not faithful in truth. They're afraid of the damn truth, and they run the opposite direction into the arms of their captors, right? Or into a purgatorial state of delusion. Either way, same outcome, unactualized, unrealized, spiritually dead, back to the recycling pit for you. See if we can get it in the next slide.
Want your answer? They're Crips and Bloods, man. They're gangbangers, bro. Just like the ones on the street, just a different level.
Yeah, so you admit you work for a mafia, basically.
I do, man. Hell yeah, dude. And I got insurance through a mafia.